John Ferber, advertising.com, all kinds of stuff that you've done. I'll be here forever introducing you, but thank you for coming in.
Thanks,
and
thanks,
Potions and Motions, Jay Savino, thank you on your birthday. Happy birthday, big
Happy
guy.
birthday!
Ooh, happy birthday. Take a
How
shot.
old? How
Take a
old
drink.
today?
50th birthday today.
You mean 20?
I feel like I'm 20.
There you go. And let
Time we
everybody...
say happy birthday, he's got to take a drink.
Yeah, we're almost we're almost.
What are we drinking?
So we're drinking. Well, what's called past tense. What I drank. John and I have already drank an entire bottle almost of Maestro Dobel, Cristalino, Añejo, which is a Blanco Plata tequila, probably the best on the market. About $500 a bottle. We've whacked down half of it already. A company owned by Perry Farrell of James Addiction fame. But it's easy. So we needed something easy we could drink during the day.
Smooth.
You know.
And then before we got on, tell us a story about Delray when you got sick and were bleeding everywhere.
We're going into that. So COVID. So my COVID story is this. COVID came out. Kept working through COVID. That's how I really met Rob Moore, by doing a lot of stuff, keeping the industry going, keeping people fed. Landed me in the hospital with a really bad bout of COVID at the time. I really wasn't in the hospital yet, but I knew I needed to get some of those microchronial antibodies, which were impossible to get.
How crazy is that? They
It was
had like
crazy.
a gazillion doses available and then overnight, but they needed that to make it Operation Warp Speed.
Right. So I read the rules, and the rules are, if you're to qualify, you got to be obese, you got to be respiratory problems, but you got to have a good pulse ox level. Okay, so about ready to pass out, I get myself to a CVS and get a pulse ox meter, and the thing registers 83. I don't know anything about pulse ox, okay? I never put a thing on my finger in my life. I asked a lot of people, I said, what does that mean? They go, you got to go to the hospital right now. You're dead. You have no oxygen in your body. I said, real what?
What's it supposed to be?
Like 99
Yeah.
out of 100.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the other problem was they will not give you the microbial antibodies unless your pulse ox is above 90. So without mentioning any names, I call in an audible to one of the heads of, I'm not going to say which department at Delray Medical. And
Happy birthday.
He gets me in. Thank you. Gets me in, slides me in in the worst possible time. Shut it.
Dr. John.
Slides me in at the worst possible time. Puts me in a room and locks the door. Okay, this was the time when you were in a hospital. You weren't allowed to leave your room without an escort. People weren't moving around in hospitals. So I'm sitting there, and I'm hooked up to the pulse ox, and I keep looking up, and it's like 84, 86, 83, and then a physician's assistant comes in with the IV bag, and he's like, sir, I can't legally hook you up to that until it gets above 90. And I don't know a lot about this shit, and I'm thinking to myself, okay. So he leaves the room, and I'm thinking all the stuff I've ever learned in my whole life about training and tennis practice and baseball and running track. I always remembered, breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, in through your nose, out through your mouth. This is what I've learned to get more oxygen into your body. And this is what I'm thinking of. Likely could be my final hours, okay? I'm going back to a track and field lesson in 8th grade. Breathe in through your nose. Like, I never forgot with this motherfucker. In through your nose, out through your mouth. So I start taking these breaths in through my nose. Now, my nose ain't I have a deviated septum, which is a whole nother story. But try to breathe in through your nose in general. I got sleep apnea. I mean, my nose is like the fucking Suez Canal before it was carved out. There's nothing going through
You
there.
put your finger through it?
I'm trying to put my finger through everything. I mean, it's nothing
No,
works. I got spaghetti. I can come
met-
out through my nose. It's a mess.
I met this guy that blew so much coke, he could put his finger in through here, like through the other side. It was completely done for.
All right, well, I don't know anything about that, but all I can tell you is this. I have a hard time breathing in through my
From
nose.
his boxing career.
So I'm taking these monster breaths through my nose to the point where I'm almost getting lightheaded. I got my pulse ox up to 98. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the thing. I'm cheating. I'm looking at the pulse thing. I'm looking back. The heart rate's going up because I'm getting myself all fucking worked up. The guy comes in 97 in the moment, hooks me up to the fucking antibodies. I can rest now. Goes back down to 83. I'm thinking to myself, I'm probably going to die soon anyway. If my level's at 83, I'm fucking dead. But this might buy me some time. Okay, so I get hooked up to that. After that, it was about 2 hours. No one came in. Nobody knew I was in there. No one checked me in, no insurance. This was completely off the grid. And I'm thinking, I'm starting to get nuts. I got to get the fuck out of here. Okay, I'm gonna. Number one, because I hate hospitals. I hate the whole system of what was going on.
Did you have
COVID.
IVs and shit all hooked up to you?
I had a thing on my finger. I had the thing in my arm, which was the thing that the IV went into. So whatever they call that, the site. I have a site in my arm. So I first yanked out the hose for the IV because I saw the bag was empty. I threw that on the ground. I'm hitting the fucking button. Nothing worked. I couldn't turn on the TV. I mean, the thing was dead. I'm in a dead room. The guy probably put me in a room that was dead. No one ever goes in this room. So
janitor's closet.
Nothing's working, and I go, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna walk out. So I get up and I roll the IV thing to the door. I open the door. The minute I open the door, some yellow lady goes, "Get back in there! You can't walk around without a mask. Get back in the room." I'm like, okay. I said, so this is gonna have to be a fast move. This has got to be like a 1-2. I got to get this out of my arm. Now I'm never in the hospital a lot, so I go. Okay, this is like I'm planning this like Indiana Jones. I'm going to take this out. I'm going to hit the door. Somebody yells. I'm running right for the parking lot. What are they going to do? I'm going to walk fast. Not going to run. I'm going to walk fast. I pull the thing out of my arm. It starts squirting blood like a movie. Straight up. It's just ejecting blood all over the place. I never had an IV like that. Put my finger on it. I'm looking around. Had to get a Band-Aid, put a Band-Aid on it, blood everywhere now. It looks like a fucking massacre in this room.
It's a mercy
It's like
now,
somebody
right?
just killed somebody in the room. I open the door, walk right out like, no, put a mask on, walked right out the fucking front door at Delray Medical like nothing ever happened. Never got a bill, nothing. That's the reason why I'm here right now.
Winner.
And I won't
Happy
say
fucking birthday to
I won't
that.
say
birthday.
but you know who you are when you're listening to this. Thank you for saving my life.
Did you ever get COVID? Did you?
I
catch
did. I did.
it?
I knew it. I knew the moment I got it that I got it.
How'd you know?
Because it was New Year's Eve 2 years ago, and I was with a couple friends, and they wanted me to go to the living room at the Faena Hotel in Miami. And I don't know if you've ever been there, but it is windowless, and it was packed. It was New Year's Eve, and I walked in, and you smelled it. You literally smelled like sickness. And I turned to the girl I was with, and I said, "We just got COVID." And about 2 days later, I tested positive. So
Was it bad?
not for me. No, it was pretty easy. I mean, it was like 5 days of the mild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever got it. If I did, I didn't know.
Yeah,
But
so-
we've had multiple people during that time. They'd fly in and
my
they
guts.
call,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
10 days later, they'd be like, "Hey, just want to let you guys know
Yeah,
I have COVID." And I'm like,
Yeah, I had COVID the last time I was with you guys. I just want to let you know. No, I'm just kidding.
I've used it as an excuse at least a half dozen.
so have I. Yeah, it turned
Just
into a good excuse.
kidding.
Sorry, I can't make it today.
But you know, I've seen that long COVID fuck people up.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely,
can't
absolutely. In fact, my
try-
daughter had a little bit of that. Yeah, so yeah.
Did she get out of it?
We think so because it's basically respiratory and it's seasonal as of now. So ask me again in a year, but I think so. But it
Yeah.
did hit her for about 2 years, and each time she got COVID, it was pretty bad.
Yeah. I mean, we never got it, but this new one, I think I got the new one. Whatever that
I had-
new one.
I
Peter
had
was talking about this disease X, Omni, whatever.
Yeah, I don't
and-
follow it anymore. I just
Yeah. Well, they're going to play their fucking games again. But if that's what it is, it just sucks for like 2 days, and then 3-4 isn't too bad.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's all right.
So among all these things that you've done, right?
Yeah.
Right now, you're doing the Black Tie Club.
That is
right?
correct.
Now, after you have advertising.com with the ads, like that like the back of your hand, which I can't wait to ask you about because I still don't understand
Yeah.
CPM and CTR and this shit.
Explain it all. Sure.
But what led you to go into the dating route?
Really, two things. One was if you look at my professional past, as you mentioned, the first 20 years of my life in business was doing advertising technology. If you look at the internet, there's really three primary revenue streams. There's advertising, there's e-commerce, and then there's subscriptions of some sort. So I became, after I had another company called BitTelect. I was very fortunate to get acquired in March of this past year, and it too was in an ad tech company. And I wanted to switch gears. For one, I wanted to try a subscription-oriented business model just because I've been doing advertising for 27 years.
yeah.
And funnily enough, if you have our site up here and all that, you'll notice
Yeah.
there's one thing that is not there, is there's not a single ad anywhere.
No.
We're as anti-advertising as you can be.
The
We don't
famous
track
ad
you.
guy.
We're not cooking
funny.
you. We're not doing any of the ruthless and horrible stuff that everybody else does. But secondarily, and I say this a little, I think colloquially is the right word, which is a tongue in cheek, but In many ways, I look at my career, and I've reinvented advertising not once, but basically twice. The first time bringing it digital, inventing all the initial technologies that are still in use today. In fact, my first company, advertising.com, probably interacts with every single person in this room and every listener on your podcast 300 to 500 times a day.
Isn't that wild?
And that's because every time you see an ad where basically that technology is participating in some aspect, kind of like the Intel Inside. And then my newer company, very similar, or the one I sold, Bid Select, very similar, but at a smaller scale, probably hitting every single person's phone or computer or an internet-connected device like 100 times a day.
Yeah.
And when so I was married, I don't know if you were, but and I got divorced about 4 years ago, and like many of us, I got onto the apps, and it was just it's addictive because they basically built around the notion of gamification, right? It's not necessarily their job to help you find your soulmate; it's their job to help extract as much money they can out of you and keep you as long as possible. And I read this fascinating statistic one day that basically said the average person on a dating app spends 2 hours a day swiping.
I believe it.
And if you
these people these days, I believe it.
well, let me roll that. Let me tell you what that means. So 2 hours a day is a month of your year, right? And so you're spending a month of your year doing that. But wait, it gets even more intense because you sleep on average 3 months of a year, or 4 months. So you're talking about spending one of 7 or 8 months of your year. It's about 15% of your total time. Of total awake time, 15%. It's a lot. Sitting there swiping.
Yeah. And when you say a month, you're not talking about a day. You're talking about 24 hours for 30 days.
Yeah. I was just saying what the collective impact of that is, right? You know, you think, 2 hours a day, no big deal. But when you actually extrapolate it out, you're like, holy shit, I'm spending, like an inordinate amount of time on. And, again, I don't know if you guys are single or married or what have you, but I was going out on tons of dates, and they weren't really great, and people were misrepresenting themselves. Old photos, they weren't even the person that they were in the photo.
Yeah, when I separated, the big one was go to Plenty of Fish or something.
Sure,
it was Plenty of Fish.
Yeah.
Tinder. I failed miserably with Tinder. I just hated it.
Tinder's always been a bad one for me personally.
Me too.
But other people seem to like.
I've had like people I know would be like, like a rock star. Me, I'm like I must.
So, here's just an example. People lie about their age on dating apps. It's pretty prevalent, right? And I get it. It's fine. I'm honest personally myself. But, what's worse when you go out on a first date with somebody and they typically always admit it right up front. They're like, oh, I'm really 7 years older than I say I was. And then I'm just thinking to myself, how is that a foundation to start a relationship when, like, everything that I know about you is a lie and you're just admitting it?
Right. I guess you're supposed to feel bad.
Yes.
Let's face it, after a night with drinks, I don't bounce back the next day like I used to. I have to make a choice, either a great night or a great next day. That is, until I found Z-Biotics. We all have busy lives these days and can't afford to waste a day stuck on the couch because of a few drinks the night before. Z-Biotics is the answer we've all been looking for. Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic is the first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. It's designed to work like your liver, but in your gut, where you need it most. Just remember to drink Z-Biotics before drinking alcohol. Drink responsibly, and get a good night's of sleep to feel your best tomorrow. Order Z-Biotics now for your summertime barbecue, weddings, vacations, you name it. Go to zbiotics.com/MSCS Media or scan the QR code on the screen right now to get 15% off your first order when you use MSCS Media checkout. You can also sign up for a subscription using my code, so you can stay prepared no matter the time or occasion. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're ever unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember, head to zbiotics.com/MSCS Media, use the code MSCS Media at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, ZBiotics, for sponsoring this episode. This episode is brought to you by Let's Get Checked. Are you the man your father was? Recent studies have shown that men's testosterone levels have dropped substantially since the 1980s at about an average of 1% per year. Think about how old your father was when he was born. For example, if he was 30, your testosterone levels could be 30% lower than his. Low testosterone levels can have all type of health effects on men. It can affect your mood, sex drive, memory, muscle mass loss, you name it. And yes, low testosterone is more common the older you get, but it can affect men at any age. So let's talk about today's sponsor, Let's Get Checked. You can order a testing kit that will be delivered to you in a discreet packaging with next-day delivery. Once your sample arrives in the laboratory, confidential results will be available from your secure online account within 2 to 5 days. So, if you want to test your hormone levels without having to leave your home, visit trylgc.com/MSCS Media and get 25% off your test using the code MSCS Media. The link is in the description at the top.
Or whatever. So anyway, long story short was my point was, just like we kind of reinvented advertising with advertising.com and then again with BidTelect, because that marshaled in the notion of what's called real-time bidding, which is where tons of advertisers bid on every single time for your ad impression. And in fact, we say it right there on our, I don't know if everybody can see it, but we're trying to reinvent dating. We're trying to fix the broken process, because that's in essence what I found, was that it was broken.
Right.
And it is, and it really is. Everybody says it. If you go to the app stores, go to check out Bumble or Tinder's ratings, it's 2.5 stars, and everybody has the same kind of complaints on it. They're not actually coveted products, right? And so we're trying to make dating better by reinventing it.
I like that. That's why we're reinventing dating.
Exactly. Yeah.
Imagine seeing photos of a person, and that's who they have. That's what they actually look like. Now, guys watching this won't admit it, but I would say 80% have opened that door and said, "You are not who I just had invited over."
Yeah, that's 100% true. And so we verify, vet, and interview every single female and male in our database, and that's either in person in our office or on Zoom or FaceTime. So, we're verifying the authenticity of the photos, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, wow.
That's no joke.
Yeah,
that's legit.
Absolutely.
And the ratio's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's 20 to 1 female to male ratio. That's because women are free. So to join the Black Tie Club as a female, it's 100% free. It dates back 20-something years ago. I had this idea in my 20s that I never was able to actualize on, but the idea was to have a bar called Ladies Drink Free. And obviously ladies would drink free, but guys would pay 3 to 4 times the normal price of a drink. And I just had always thought that would be the ultimate pack bar at all times. And so in essence, the Black Tie Club is...
That's cool.
It is Ladies Drink Free, because it's 100% free for women. Except it's not a bar. It's an online platform that also has real-time events, and then we also have a matchmaker on top. So it's very unique, because in the dating services space, you are either an app like Match.com, Tinder, et cetera, or the other entities or matchmakers. Nobody has ever bridged the two. We've bridged the two. We have a matchmaking division that oversees everything, and we push people together, connect them, I should say. And we have live events as well, so where everybody can meet. We had one last night. You were invited, Tommy. You didn't make it. So.
Sorry.
But I expect you to be at the next one.
I will.
20 to 1. 20 to 1.
20 to 1.
And, the other parts that were broken about dating, not to drone on, but just, ghosting's a huge issue, as an example.
Yeah.
And even if you don't, I don't know if you would call this, what I'm about to explain, as ghosting, but I can't tell you how many dates I've been on prior to starting this company where I actually thought it was a pretty good date, and I thought that the other person did too, but I actually just didn't even bother to follow up kind of or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so one of the interesting things we do is when members of our club go out on a date, they're required to provide post-date feedback. And I can't even, 75% of the time we hear the following: I had a great time. I'm not sure that the other person did. I would like to see them again, but I don't think that they would. And then we go and talk to the other person. They say the exact same thing. And so what we're doing is like creating that, we go back, we're like, no, they loved you. They would love to see you again. And,
Right.
and creating that.
You're creating that connection that maybe you got busy and didn't follow up with, or you thought,
you just, both
they-
people walked away insecure of the situation.
right.
You know?
And then without, having to maybe be an idiot to the girl or guy and say, hey, did you have a good time? The way you guys are doing it is they let you know, and then you let the other person, oh, okay, boom.
Third party.
And by the way, we also deliver all the bad news as tactfully as possible, and neither party needs to do that. So you go out on a date with one of our.
You might need a haircut, John. You might need a haircut. You tell a guy,
Yeah.
it's better grooming. Your grooming should be.
We've heard them all. I mean, there's been an unbelievable.
If you really like her, wear blue, right?
Yes.
And I would, sure
just more
goes-
like we handle. I can't tell you how many people we've basically ended relationships on behalf of our clients.
Well, you probably saved a lot of people alimony and a lot of
Possibly,
mess.
But we've
too.
also created tons of merit. We've
Yeah.
literally, one of my clients just sent me a photo of a 7-carat diamond engagement ring that he gave to one of the
cool
women
is
he met
that?
through the
That's
club.
cool.
And that's the end game, really, to try to find a better pathway there, for people to find love than what exists out. And so it's validating that when we see those proof points.
Right, and especially now when you look at the data of the reproduction rate down,
Yeah.
it was down 45,
40,
50% last time we looked.
Yeah, I'm sure.
People
People are waiting longer. and
waiting
less
longer.
fertile.
So now this gives, while they're on the phone all day long, they can actually have a real dating app. And obviously, it goes without saying, but just to put it out there, you verify the men too.
Yeah, both. Yeah, absolutely. Because we need to make sure that it's a safe environment for both parties. That's I'm sure you've everybody's heard of the Tindler Swindler.
Yeah.
And in fact, I just happened to turn on I want to say it was Netflix last night, and I noticed there was something new. It was a whole series that had like 3 seasons. The entire series was all about people getting scammed on dating apps and having,
Yeah.
and I'm like, well, it's great marketing for us, because we are like, well, we're able to balance that, but that's part of our value proposition is ensuring that there's a vetting process.
How many dating apps are there out there that you know of?
Well, the statistics, it's if you believe the third party statistics, it's like 8,000
Really?
in the world, I think, or the United States. It's a multi-billion-dollar.
Wow.
The dating app industry in the United States is roughly $3 or $4 billion a year, and then globally it's like 6 or 7.
I don't.
Match.com is the big player. They own. So most people don't realize it, but I'm pretty sure they own Plenty of Fish, but they own Hinge, they own Stir, they own The League, they own Match, they own
Just subsidiary after subsidiary.
yeah, most of these guys have kind of grown by acquisition over time and or geography. So
Yeah, and what were you playing with? Tinder? Is that what you got? You got
I didn't play with much, but I don't find much luck. I'm fortunately around a lot of people every night.
he's
so
got the best
I
life.
I
He's
play in
around
the
these beautiful
I-
women.
I
every
just
day.
I actually play in the real world because I'm not really a computer guy, but
He does. It's there's guys like Jason who don't need it. It's,
Yeah.
and he's not shy. He's got a great game, and he's handsome, and he's fun to be around. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
thank you, John. That's very nice.
I, on the other hand, as I would classify myself as an extrovert, but I have a social awkwardness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, with everything that we're going to get to, you don't really have a lot of time, I would imagine, throughout your career.
you mean for what? Just
Just because the businesses
In the
that
pa-
you've
in the pa-
done
in the
the
pa-
past.
in the pa-
I mean,
yeah, but I was my 20s was hardcore work. I mean, there
Yeah.
was my friends were going on vacation to Europe and doing all these things, and I was head to the grindstone working 7 days a week.
I thought it was funny that your father had said, "There's no way you're ever going to work for somebody."
Yeah, that is true.
That was crazy.
Yeah, he recognized that very early in my life, and he was true. It was true about him, I guess.
And and your whole kind of career, it started initially with a video game.
Yeah.
And you went to the casino, and the guy didn't care about the game, but he cared about the tracking and everything else.
You
And
did
that
your
was
research, buddy.
and just so that everybody knows,
yeah,
we're talking late 90s here. We're not talking
Early.
2000.
yeah, it's it's like 97,
97,
96, yeah.
So you go in there, and he wants to know about that. Then, you go back. Now, your brother, he goes to college as a system engineer,
That's right.
right?
Yeah,
And he quits that and comes with you. And
Scott?
Scott, yeah. And then you had that going and whatever. And then what was the name of the company initially?
I will, but I want to say one thing about my brother beforehand, just since you brought him up. So he did go to Stanford. I'm sorry, he went to UVA for systems engineering, which is basically the definition of systems engineering is like the truly best solution for a real world problem. So it's most people think engineering, wire, circuitry, computer coding, or whatever. It's actually a more broader problem. It's like you're looking at marketplaces or logistical challenges like, hey, how do I time the streetlights in New York City in the most optimal fashion so that the average person waits the least amount of time? Like,
so it's an entirety. It's not just
also,
one
it's very
thing.
broad, you know.
Yeah.
And so, long story short was when he wanted to pursue his master's, the author of most of the textbooks in his class was a professor at Stanford named David Leuenberger. And my brother decided that the natural path for him when he went to go get his master's was to go study at Stanford under the guy who was writing all the textbooks. And so he graduated. Then he went and he worked for this little teeny company that nobody had ever heard of. And it was actually, at the time, was a little regional bank in Mid-Atlantic region called Signet Bank. I don't know where you're from, but
Philly.
they might have had a branch there, but it had like 10, 15 branches. But long story short was they decided to spin off their fledgling credit card division. And the CEO and chairman of that was a guy named Richard Fairbanks. And that company was called Capital One. And which we all know, the massive guys who clog your mailbox.
Yeah, they like to do
that.
that.
Offer your credit cards. The single largest customer of the post office, but at least they were. But he was working with them. So long story short was he was like number 4 or 5 in the company. It was just very fortuitous how he got in there. And so when he joined me, as you were alluding to, it wasn't just that he was leaving college. He was giving up an incredible job in this fast rising company that was just at the very beginning reporting to the CEO. So it was when it first time I don't know the numbers, but it was very early. And he gave that all up to come and join me. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and your dad gave him a little bit of a bump,
He did,
right?
he did.
Yeah.
But you really did.
That was interesting.
I'm impressed.
Your dad was
Somehow
like,
this is a bottomless glass of tequila.
Look at Jay. We got Jay here filling us up as
Get
we're
the
going
hard
along here.
questions out early.
Happy birthday, Jay. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
And then
Can't let you drink alone. Yeah.
the initial name was TechnoSurf.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And I imagine that was kind of based off the original game, because
Is there a game called? No, it was If it was. So the quick story behind that was that our first office was in a college community in Towson, Maryland. We went. I was 23. I was in. Still living in the college apartment complexes. And my brother got a place down there too. Long story short was we offered somebody the following. It was pretty funny. $100 or 100 shares in our company, their choice, if they could come up with a name of what we were going to call it.
Oh shit!
And one person came up with Inettech, which, if you remember the movie Office Space, that was the fictional name of the company there, and we liked it because we thought it was right around then, and we loved Jen Aniston, and we were like, but a girl, her name was Michelle, comes up with TechnoSurf, and for whatever reason, we liked it. And when we went to her, I'll never forget, and said, "Would you like $100 for the 100 shares?" She took the $100.
You dumb.
The 100 shares.
What would that have been worth?
It would have probably $500,000.
Bad move, honey. Bad move.
She bought beer that night. She bought alcohol that
I'm
night.
sorry, Michelle, if you hear that.
If you're watching this,
That's a real story right there.
if you're watching this, I feel.
Sorry, Michelle.
I feel for you.
She might have.
We do thank you for the name, although we used it for about 18 months, and then we changed the names to
Pull up tab 5.
Yeah. I love it.
Now, when you talk about tracking, you know how Apple says, we don't track.
What's the other one? Yeah.
5. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
No?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Scratch out of
The pop-up. There was a pop-up there.
That
Yeah.
Yeah, just write that down. So you
Yeah,
got
there
that.
you go.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what
There we go.
Yeah.
January 18, 2000.
That was the day before my birthday.
Ooh. Yeah. And then what gave you the idea, advertising.com? I mean, that's the bomb,
It's a quick, funny story, too. So we had no plans to change our name, although we were struggling. Our salespeople, which we had about 20 at the time, was a lot of telesales, they were already complaining about the TechnoSurf name because immediately their feedback was it had no connotation to advertising. So it just took an extra 10, 15. when you got a minute, when you got 30 seconds in your elevator pitch and your name doesn't fucking resonate at all, it just takes up time. And so one of our colleagues, a great guy, is one of my dearest friends, and I love the guy to death, John DeMaio, comes into mine and my brother's office one day, and he goes, hey, the owners of advertising.com they're about to go bankrupt, and they're a publicly traded company, and they said that they're not going to make payroll, and yada yada. They're willing to sell the name for like $200,000, and we literally, our response was, "Why are you wasting your time even having we were so thrown about. We had no desire for the name." And we actually admonished him, and I apologize, John, but we kind of like admonished him for wasting his time on it. And then we started thinking about it more. We had one day to decide. And so long story short was we went back to him and said, we'll offer you $100,000. And they took it.
What year?
This was 99. Like you can see because you could see the date. And so there's an interesting quick story on it was that when we had our financing agreements, we had raised like $11 million in venture capital, and there was a clause in there, which anybody who's raised money is probably familiar with, that said any expense greater than $100,000 required board approval. And so being aware of that, we actually went back to these guys and said, sorry, we can only give you $99,999.
That's awesome.
And they took it. And so long story short, we owned it. And then we had a board meeting. It was probably in December. And I remember being so fucking scared to bring up the topic of what we did because in essence, and at the time that this was going on, the best thing in the world for a company was to have a .com at the end. Pets.com, socks.com.
Yeah, if you got .com.
Whatever it could be. That was like the golden child, right? And I'm just looking at the date. It's so fascinating when you hear the rest of the story. So we changed our name. Immediately, it was very beneficial for us. People felt that they had already known that we had existed. It was fascinating, and then it cut down on the story, and it added credibility.
Because I would have thought, damn, I just missed it.
Yeah.
How could advertising.com just pop up?
And if you remember, and it still happens a little bit, but in the bottom of everybody's browser, right? Remember, you used to always show you in the bottom left every single little connection was making. And so everybody, every single human being was seeing served by advertising.com about 100 times a day on the bottom. And so anyway, long story short was we obviously changed our name, and then the .com crash happened. I guess it was actually 2001, I think. So for the first year or so, we were riding pretty high on it.
Yeah, you said January 5th was the worst day of your professional...
That was a year later. Yes, it was a year later,
January
right? Yeah.
5th was the worst professional day of his life.
Fascinating. You're Zach. You've really done your research. I'm impressed, man.
Thank you.
So long story short was, we had a year, maybe 18 months where we're walking around. We're like, yeah, we're advertising.com. And then all of a sudden, a lot of things happened, but the market hit a peak and then it was crashing and the valuations were coming down.
Didn't you see yourself on a magazine maybe?
Did I?
On the front cover?
What do you mean? I'm sorry?
On that January 5th, you saw your...
It was the front cover of the Baltimore
front cover.
Sun.
That's what I mean.
There's even a story about that photo, which I'll get to in a second. But... it became the worst thing in the world. Having that .com was horrible, and to the point where, like, literally, I would, I was always single for the majority of my life, or what have you. I'd go to bars, and naturally, people would be like, "What do you do?" And when that came up, I would like slur the company's name. I would just not even mention. You know what I mean? The last thing I wanted to do is say my company was called advertising.com. But what was really fascinating was, throughout all this shit, which also included 9/11 and the .com crash and basically the stock market crash and everything, and we had to do those layoffs. And on January 4th, is that what you said? On 2001 was, a year after, just under a year after, was the worst day of my life. Because we had to lay off about 150 of our 450 people. That was how quickly the market
450
had changed, Jesus. Right? We had clients who just disappeared overnight, with receivables that we couldn't collect on, and just trouble after trouble. And what was fascinating, though, was that our technology actually did exactly what we had purported it to do. Because my brother, I didn't get into the whole story, but the problem with all of media. If you want me to digress for a second.
Yeah.
There's an old saying, anyone in the advertising industry has heard it, which is that half of my ad dollars are wasted. The problem is I don't know which half. And it was credited to a guy named John Wanamaker, who was a department store owner in Philadelphia.
Wanamakers.
He's got a little sign. I notice it every time.
Wanamaker.
And he was the guy credited with that, I think like the 1860s roughly. And it's what he meant. He didn't. The problem with most advertising is that it's inherently untrackable, right? Does Burger King know that you saw the billboard on the side of 95 and drove it? Yeah,
right.
Really. Well, they used to not. Now, because you have geolocation technologies on your phone and it's secretly tracking you. I wouldn't say secretly. It's tracking you. Just unconsciously to your conscious mindset, right?
In the extreme fine print, you mean?
But nowadays, Burger King can actually tell if you drove by a billboard and then went into their store, just if you have your phone on you, which is pretty fascinating. But prior to that, they couldn't. And so the whole point of advertising.com in particular was to solve that question of where's my media dollars going, and being able to be accountable. And the realization that we had, my brother and I, back in 1996-ish or 7, was that the internet provided the first massive closed-looped marketing opportunity to truly be able to track everything from the moment a person saw an ad through the transaction. Obviously, the offline example of Burger King is more recent. We were just focused on, hey, let me show you an ad for something on Amazon. You click on Amazon, you buy the book. And that's it. You know what I mean?
Right. Data.
Yeah, exactly.
Data.
And so the 800-pound gorilla at the time was a company called DoubleClick, which is now owned by Google, and basically is all the majority of Google's advertising technology. It's actually under it's being sued by the federal government right now.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So Google right now has two separate
the government
lawsuits.
suing Google?
Twice.
Wow.
Oh, you weren't aware? There's one going on right this second about their search monopoly. It's pretty fascinating because they're basically Google is tacitly admitting that they knew what they were doing was benefiting them to get the market power that they have, right?
Yeah. I'm surprised they did them quite a few favors.
The government?
Google did. No, Google did the government quite a few favors.
I'm sure they probably have, but at the end of the day,
they killed a guy's wife that was in here.
Oh, yeah, okay.
No, they really did. He testified in front of the Senate, and Lindsey Graham had told him they're going to kill you.
Yeah.
Dr. Robert Epstein, great guy, great guy, and he was like, "Yeah, right. I'm just a brain guy that has." I'm connected. He was connected to every red light, on the turnpike, the things. So he had all the data I forget his actual, title, but he would take all of that data and then break down how that affects the brain by age and everything else. Like how much driving, how much online, where you're at, what you're doing, this whole evaluation thing. Well, somehow, and this is a Democrat, somehow within all this, he sees that Google is suppressing the hell out of the last election.
Yeah.
So he goes in to testify, leaves. 2 weeks later, his wife takes his car to go get milk or whatever. It was his car. The brakes go out. It was a rainy day. The people behind her said that
it's
it looked
always
like
the
it was,
brakes. It's always the brakes.
So now, car spins out. She passes away. We pulled up the news thing. He and I were like, what?
Crazy.
It was 3 hours in,
Crazy.
And long story short, so they cremated her without any okay from him or the family.
Right.
And 9 months later, he finds the car burnt in Mexico. And the only reason he found the car burnt in Mexico is because of the drones. How crazy is that?
That's crazy.
That's just over data.
Yeah. Well, Google's motto, which they've dropped, was "Do no evil," but they were honestly probably one of the most evil companies out there, in my opinion. I've always felt that.
How much when you're in right now, my cell phone's right here, and if I'm talking and I say something like, I don't know, tequila. We're talking about tequila. Happy birthday. How much of it becomes where my phone hears me? And then you see these ads that pop up. What is that?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually watched a lot of videos on this very topic, and I wish I could tell you that I personally read every single clause in Facebook or any of these guys' user agreements, because nobody has. In fact, they know that people don't, right? And so the statistic says that I think 97% of people sign any contract online without reading it. And if you think about that for 1 second, it's actually, forget the software licenses, think about more important shit in your life, like
marriages.
Divorce
selling a
agreement,
house,
you know?
selling a house.
Exactly. Like people just.
I didn't realize
you
the
get
lawyer
something,
just
it says
owned my house.
It says DocuSign. You know, you click, 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 and you're just trying to get it done as quick as possible. You're not reading it.
Right.
But I actually do believe, if you're just asking my own personal opinion, that they are using in some way, shape, or form audio from you. For ad targeting purposes. I personally have experienced it, I believe, but I've seen at least 15 different experiments shown online on like YouTube and others where people, to your point, they'll pick a topic. Like the one the one I've used in the past is they picked the topic cat litter because they didn't have any cats. They never talked about it, nothing like that. And so they pick this topic and they keep their phones out for like 24 hours, and within 24 hours they're seeing ads in their feed for cat litter. So I do think that there's some notion. It's probably in there. I mean, remember, when you install the app on your phone, the first thing it says is, can I have permission, right? Oh, you want to make a phone call? You want to talk into my thing or whatever? Oh, I need permission, right? And you're just like, allow, you know, and you just allow it.
Yeah.
But when you actually turn that permission off, is it actually off?
I don't know, but probably. I wouldn't be that suspicious of it, you know.
And
that's a good question.
Not to stay
you know, I don't work
long,
for the guys.
but
Facebook owns most of my patents, by the way.
Do it really?
Yeah.
Wow! Congratulations.
Thanks. Well, I didn't get paid for them, so.
Oh, that sucks. But still, so.
Well, I originally got paid, but not on the back. So. Yeah.
Now, like Apple runs with the privacy a lot. Are they really more, you know, less track driven than Samsung and the other operating systems?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, basically, they have a much rigid. You know, Tim Cook's been pretty vocal about it, and they believe their money is to be made off of hardware and software and their app store and all that, and not intruding on people's privacy. They put that new version out about 2 or 3 years ago. Pretty much every company has approached a much more privacy beneficial stance for consumers, except for Google. They have a lot to lose from it, and their browser is the #1 browser in terms of market share, and so they're not incentivized. You know, they've been talking for years about getting rid of what's called the third-party cookie, which is what's known as to be the offending thing, if you will. And they every time it's about to happen, they say, it's not going to work. We're going to kick the can down the road another 2 years. And that was great for my previous companies because we rely on it, right? But Apple doesn't rely on it. Apple doesn't care about advertising revenue, so they don't give a shit if you're not able to target well to them. And when you're presented a choice, I just installed something on an iPad the other day, and I noticed it came up and it said, you know, we serve trackable ads. Will you allow us? And I was like, no, why would I allow you? If you give me a choice, I'm going to pick no.
But why do you have a Samsung?
Because it's an infinitely better phone. Yeah.
That's
Does your phone?
Nah. They fixed it. They fixed it. I know.
Yeah,
the
it works
other one
great.
had a
This
bunch
is the
of problems.
5. Yeah, it works amazing.
Oh, okay.
It's my daughter right there. And,
beautiful.
I actually had the Motorola Razr, which was honestly a better phone, but a cheaper.
Oh yeah.
Well, the new one.
The new one. Yeah. But
it was cool because
my little one.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. I love talking about it afterwards. The Razr, if I was filming you, you could see you like an old camcorder. It was pretty cool, but here it does.
Tell them about the glasses, John. The glasses.
Oh yeah.
Where are they? Well, these aren't mine, but I did just get them.
How new is that?
I got them yesterday. I put them on this morning. I happened to have an eye doctor's appointment. The first person who saw me said, "Hey, those are really cool." What's that?
1 day old on the wall.
1 day old. They're made by LUCYD. It was a Facebook that I saw, but they're smart sunglasses. So you put them on, and
it's hard with those.
I put them on. I'm not going to turn them on now, but if I did, I can not only hear music, but I actually have an interface in with my phone. I can ask it questions. It will respond back to me. It has a direct connection to ChatGPT, so I can have AI built into my thing. And then
walking AI right here.
Yeah,
he knows exactly what to say at the right time.
Yeah, exactly.
He knows exactly where to move. He's telling him right now to shut the fuck up.
You're talking too much. You're giving away the secret apps.
How much?
Happy birthday!
Yeah,
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Thank you, brother.
Happy birthday,
for spending
Rob.
with us, man. I appreciate it.
Has
Appreciate
advertising? I mean, it's I guess the question here, but has advertising become easier? Do you believe over the years?
It's
or
funny.
Much harder.
It's funny you say that because I think it's become much harder.
Harder.
Yeah.
Why?
It's just, well, everybody promotes it as being very easy, like Google's. Oh, you just get up and running in 5 minutes or what have you. It's easy to get started. It's hard to master. Typically, people get their ass handed to them, to be honest with you. They'll start a campaign on Google or Facebook or a platform like my former ones or whatever. And if they're doing it themselves, they don't really know what they're doing, or their budget's not correct, or whatever it may be. I mean, there's so many variables that are so important in making sure that a campaign goes off properly. And so it's just, and then the competition's gotten so much more. So that's why I think it's harder. You know, we used to be able to get, like, I'll just give you an example of like deck consolidation leads. You know, 20 years ago,
huge.
5, yeah, but we were able to get them for like $5 to $10 online. You know, infinite amount, right? You know, today they probably are $100 because there's 1,000 more choices for publishers to promote. They got to perform against everything else. Everybody's basically measuring their efficacy, right?
Yeah.
You know, which is what they should, and so it's just a lot harder, in my opinion. Yeah.
And everyone I know,
Some people will tell you they think it's simpler, though.
Yeah.
see, everyone I know complains about the Google ads and all that because, like you said, they don't know what to do. They put the wrong radius,
Yeah.
and then you're supposedly your competition is 3,000, so you feel like you have to go 3,000, but you really don't know where it's shooting it to.
Yeah.
Unless you can go into the code,
Part of the antitrust suit that just came out yesterday that I was just mentioning to you
Yeah.
is the fact that they actually arbitrarily, the guy admitted in the suit, in the court,
Really?
that they felt pressured to meet their earnings and would actually, they basically had a dial that could just say, charge our clients more.
Jeez.
And they would raise the prices by like 10% arbitrarily just so they could hit their numbers.
And
that's kind of shady shit. You
They're
know,
keeping
we've
that
always
quiet.
run what every company I've always run is what's known as an open marketplace. There's transparency there. We're not, pulling strings behind the scenes in order to.
And how do you keep say presidential elections, right? So a lot of money involved with that, a lot, right? So how do you keep that advertising fair? Meaning, is it if I'm Donald Trump, and I pay more than Joe Biden,
Sure.
I get more,
Yeah.
right? Because you're paying for more.
Yeah.
If we're both paying the same, how do you? I guess that doesn't happen, right? Because somebody's going to spend more than the other guy.
But let's just say they're paying the same. What was your question?
How does it become even? I guess
I mean, there's a variety of ways in which advertising is kind of bought and sold and measured. I mean, at the most rudimentary way, because you mentioned earlier, it would be per impression. So let's just say each candidate went to NBC network. I'm just making up an example. And they're like, here's $50 million. We're each giving you. They would probably come back and say, great, we're going to give you 2 billion impressions, and those impressions. Got you. Now you would say, well, what's the devil in the details is where are those impressions? Are they at 4 a.m, when nobody of value is watching them? Are they during the Today Show at 7:30? There's all kinds of subcomponents to it, but yeah. Okay.
And when they always talk, and we bring this up maybe ad nauseum, but when they always say TikTok is so horrible. I can read code. I'm a coder. I don't look like it, but I am. Now,
I believe it.
To me, to me, I don't see TikTok being that much worse than all the other ones.
You mean in terms of its mental detriment to society?
Yeah, I don't see it being that much worse. The codes, Instagram is tracking to me. I don't, way more than me, but I see the same thing in Instagram.
Yeah,
pretty much.
They're all copying each other, right? So
but
I think
you could
the novelty
say TikTok is China. Right.
Well, I don't know if you've read the articles, but the TikTok version that's in China, I forgot the name of it off the top.
It's not like here.
Oh my God, it's
totally
so
different.
Dramatically different. It's fascinating. I encourage you to read the article.
You mean that they try to get their men and women better on that TikTok?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas here, they're
go to the bathroom
the
in a
degrading stuff in society
Run
to
through a
just
wall.
chip away at people's moral
You
fiber.
remember that fucking cat lady started this whole shit to the point where they put a litter box in a school.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
No.
No, they literally men, women, not sure, litter box.
Right.
No, really.
She thought she was a cat.
Yeah,
I
no,
didn't see it.
fucking wild, man.
Yeah, I hear you. And I've actually spent the smallest amount of. I've spent like shorter than this interview or this podcast on TikTok in my entire life.
Me too.
But I think one is they're built off of these algorithms that are basically predicated off this notion of what's called recency, frequency, and duration, which means how often are you looking at something of a topic, how recently, how often, and then how much. Right, and so that's what's driving it. You get in there, and all of a sudden it's showing you everything. The funniest thing is I opened up my Instagram, which I also don't use very much, and I asked this girl, I was like, "Does yours always?" I'll open mine up real quick.
We have it.
Yours probably looks like mine, but when I asked the girl if hers looked like mine, because I've never done anything on it, so the reason why I'm curious as to why mine looks like mine.
What do you mean?
You'll see. Give me a sec. I'm an Instagram neophyte, so I apologize. How do you get to the home screen on here?
You're asking me.
Discovery or something? I don't know.
Is that Apple?
No, it's Samsung.
I have no idea.
Give me a sec. Here. I think that might be it. The bottom line is that everything I see.
Fan dating. Is that you? Fan dating?
That's me right there, that J. Ferber 74. No, what I see is, it's not about that. It's about when I start up Instagram, all I see are women in bikinis. Like, I don't know about you.
Yeah, usually. Yeah.
I've never really used it. My point is I've never told them that that's what I care about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when I've hung out with some women before, thanks for bringing it up. When I've hung out, when I've seen some ladies' Instagrams before, when they open it, it's not that at all.
Right.
It's kind of like what happens with Chinese TikTok versus U.S. TikTok. But
that is so interesting.
Unfortunately, I do think that these things are bad for society.
Oh yeah.
It just has mental health related issues.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look what it's doing.
Yeah.
I mean, try to talk to a younger, like this generation now, and them not try 10 minutes with them not like this, or like this while they're talking to you. There's no more sit down eye to eye.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I hate it. I post.
My daughter doesn't watch TV. It's all YouTube. There she is right there.
Yeah.
that was in her innocent times, but now she's. Now
Congratulations.
Only on the iPad. Looks up everything, rolls the eyes at me.
Yeah.
All the stuff you don't want.
Yeah.
Now,
what was funny to me is that initially you weren't out to sell ads. You were going to buy media, right? Buy media, like initially, like at what became advertising.com.
Thanks, buddy.
You weren't ads weren't the thing.
Well, it was, but I think I understand what you're getting towards, which was, and I give my brother credit to it. There's this chart, which I won't draw here because I don't see any place to draw, but there was he had a hypothesis, right? Mm-hmm. And you sound very savvy in understanding the internet and how media works and all that. And
Tommy, let him draw. This is big time right here.
Yeah.
You're going to publish the first drawing from John Ferber.
Well,
give him the Mont Blanc and let him fucking draw.
I'll let him do his thing.
Give him that Mont Blanc.
So let me just give me a second here.
By the way, I'm completely fucked up right now.
All right.
When did you start today?
Where's the
what
video?
time?
Rob, can we get a camera on this?
Yeah.
Rob, can we switch cameras?
It's right. It's up. Just point to that. You can't see.
What am I doing?
I don't know.
Am I good?
See that camera up there?
I just see me.
This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. Let's talk about sex. Guys, remember the days when you're always ready to go? Now you can increase your performance and get that extra confidence in bed. Listen up, BlueChew.com. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable tablets at a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever the opportunity arises. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part? It's all done online. So no visits to the doctor's office, awkward conversations, waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped direct to your door in a discreet package. Does it work? Don't think you need it? Try it free for a month and see. You're going to love it. You could be missing the best sex of your life. They say there's nothing sexier than confidence, and Blue Chew can help give you the confidence where it counts. Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. Chew it and do it. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use the promo code MSCS at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code MSCS to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. We thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast. Growing up, cereal was one of the best parts of being a kid, but as I got older, started working out, I had to watch out for sugar and empty carbs. Magic Spoon has the amazing flavors you'll love, but high protein and less sugar. The variety pack, 4 flavors, cocoa, fruity, frosted, and peanut butter. This pack has 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and 4 to 5 net grams of carbs. Only 140 calories per serving. It's high protein, 0 grams of sugar, keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, and soy-free. The fruity one, I'm done for. I can eat the whole box, no problem. Go to magicspoon.com/MSCS to grab a variety pack and try it today. And be sure to use promo code MSCS at checkout to save $5 off your order. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. That says something. Remember, get your next delicious bowl of high-protein cereal at magicspoon.com/MSCS and use the code MSCS to save $5 off. Thank you, Magic Spoon, for sponsoring this episode.
There you are, Jason.
up there.
You've been on there.
You're up
Oh,
there.
Rob,
You're up there.
I can't see shit.
You're up there.
Screen don't work.
That one's off, yeah.
Oh, when did you start drinking?
I started drinking last Thursday. I figured I want to take 7 days,
Man has
full
a-
7 days for my birthday. Thursday to Thursday, fuck it.
And what'd you tell everybody at Potions and Motions?
I told everybody I might not be
Well,
around
that's
on Monday, and if I don't show up, you guys got to figure it out. I said I give you 90 days to burn this thing to the fucking ground. I hope you don't do it.
Now-
I told him that today when I left. I said, realize I might not come back. It's going to be done in 90 days unless you all band together and figure this shit out. For real. So I told him.
How did Sexy Chef take that?
Sexy.
Shout out to my boy.
Sexy knows me. By the way, if you Rob, we got to go to when you get a chance later, hit Sexy on Instagram on a photo. Sexy last night hanging out with Todd English. We did an event with Todd English
Ooh.
at the Bentley Residences, South Miami. So last night, Sexy and Todd English collaborated because that's our new partnership. Todd English, Sexy Chef, Potions in Motion, Bentley Residences, with an amazing event. That's what Sexy's doing. Listen,
nice.
where
Great
else?
guy.
Where else would you want to be on a?
There
on
it
a,
is.
sir.
There it is.
There it
Look
is.
at this. Look at this. Wow. That's last night, and that's Mr. 100%.
Mr. 100, baby.
Mr. 100 from Hell's Kitchen. Sexy Chef Todd English last night live. This is what the company's doing now.
Big time,
that's
boy.
awesome.
Congratulations, man.
I mean, these guys, for me, the love that I get to know that I got guys that work in this brand that get to be partners with guys like this in their brand.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, like he's talking about advertising with the best that there is. This for me, even I wasn't there last night. I did a birthday party with my children last night and my wife. This is the shit. This does it for me. Yeah. This is like saying this is success. To put him and him with Todd English is truly something that you can't buy, no matter how much money you have. This is what makes it all worth it for me in this time in my life. It's not about the money anymore. It's about this. This is life right here.
But you probably always had a heart like that, and that unselfishness got your business to where it
Yes,
got. I mean,
but
think
you don't
about
get
it.
the
Potions.
this is access right now. This is access.
No, but you took Potions and Motions to all this, and
Correct.
You know that's crazy. And
that's a
then
great story.
what makes you happy is when you
Now pay it forward.
Pay it forward.
Pay it forward to put people in amazing situations.
Yeah.
And this gentleman, the story about the backstory behind John and I was about the business. He called to hire me to do an event.
When was
One
this?
event.
Oh, wow.
When?
It was a singles event, actually. 2005, I think.
2005.
2005.
Picks up the phone, goes,
And
I'm going to have a
18.
party at my house.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a bunch of things going on.
Sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit. By the way, do you have a stripper pole and stage that you could bring? And immediately I said, I'll get one. Platinumstages.com. Yes, shout out. Bought a portable stripper stage. Showed up at the house. Set it up. And that started John and I's relationship almost 20 years ago to the date. He was at my wedding.
Wow.
And
That is so cool.
7
777. The party.
I was the stripper on the pole. Mom sees it.
That's how we met. That's how we met.
That's
Became
cool.
incredible friends since then. I just moved here. He had just moved here recently from Baltimore. I was here from Long Island. We didn't know a lot of people. I was new in the business. He was new selling his business, so he was new on the scene. And it was just an incredible time for two nut jobs to come together. And that's how we met.
And what I find the most cool is that you're still friends now 20 years
Yeah,
later.
absolutely,
You
you
don't,
And
you don't have that
I
anymore.
fucking hate people.
Oh, I hate people.
I hate
too,
new
though.
people.
Like, believe it or not,
What's fascinating is how people go through. We all do. He got married to his wonderful lady for a while, and still, I think. And it is necessary. And
I didn't say that, by the way. For the record, that was him.
Nobody knows.
But he has kids. They drift apart. I don't see him for a while. We reconnect. I get married myself. You know what I mean? It's amazing how life is, I guess. And how people can kind of come. No, it's not that we ever lost even a feeling of closeness, but it might have been 2 years. 2 years might fly by, right? You know what I mean? You're like, wow, how's that happen?
Yeah. Well, life
Great
moves,
guy.
but
Loyalty.
I
Loyalty.
feel-
It's about loyalty.
I'm appreciative
Loyalty
for my
and
friendship with
integrity.
Jason. Absolutely.
you almost blinded yourself with 50-year-old tequila there, bro.
We're almost done.
You guys are. It's so funny during this podcast as we're going along here. You guys keep sliding that way. It's weird. So
way?
slide.
I see this
slide,
camera
Yeah,
and I'm
slide.
like, should I look? Which
Slide,
way do you want me to look?
Slide this way for me a little bit, and Jay, slide a little
way do
bit
you want me to
toward
look?
me. You're gonna look.
Go toward him.
You just talk to. Yeah, but you're talking to Tommy the whole
Yeah,
time.
go this way.
But come
Good,
toward.
the chair.
Yeah, slide. Yeah, there we
Like
Don't
check,
worry.
break up.
There we go. Now we're back. We had a little bit of a lean that way. It was kind of funny.
Dropped a fucking whole bottle of
the
tequila in an
lean.
hour and
Tequila.
whatever else we've been doing.
It
I
was,
mean, give me a fucking break.
Like Jay started, his half of his body
Yeah, you
stepped
got
going
that.
off of the thing.
We're gonna start drinking this shit next.
That's
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Alex Coaten. He's a great guy.
Alex, was that the Monkey in Paradise?
Yeah.
Monkey in Paradise. If you're listening, Alex,
no,
I was one of the
he
guys
sold
that
it.
promoted your Monkey in Paradise over at the Concours d'Elegance, Boca Raton, a couple of years.
There you go.
Potions of Motion. I'm gonna start in about 3 minutes. We're gonna start drinking this, with this Zero Ultra Monster Energy here from Tommy the Man, and shit's gonna about to get real.
That's a funny story with him. It all started with this little monkey thing. This is how it started. It was just at a party, and okay, this is yours. The next thing you know, he has Monkey in Paradise and sells it. Now he has this one.
I know him. I worked for him. He hired me.
He sold the brand.
Yeah, sold the brand. Yeah, he was in about 3 weeks ago, and he was the first citizen ever to fly an F-16.
Yeah,
They let him do
crazy.
it.
Citizen. Wow.
Citizen. 15 years he was calling him.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Cool.
he went to nine Gs.
Oh yeah, something crazy.
Some wild shit.
Yeah.
All right, let's see the drawing and explain.
John, you do an F-16?
So hold it up to that camera right over his
This
shoulder.
is the $500 million drawing,
Look at
aka
this.
Sign it.
Oh, look at that.
AKA
CPM, CPC.
the drawing my brother gave me to convince me to give him half of my company. That's what I
Sign
colloquially
that
call it.
thing, Tommy. That's what-
Me, Tommy, or me?
He's good.
somebody, John, sign that and give
The
it to
fuck
Tommy.
would I sign it for?
You gotta frame it.
There you go.
Tom.
Well, let me explain it real quick.
Yeah,
and then,
yeah.
Sure.
Please do.
So this is the bottom line. This is since the age of modern times, I should say. Since the moment that somebody published something that somebody was willing to advertise in, right? Whatever that was. This chart got created. More importantly, it's more relative to the internet. And what it is it shows you the three primary payment mechanisms in which advertising is bought or sold. CPM, which for those of you who are uninitiated means you're paying for your ad every time it's just being shown. Right?
Wow.
Regardless if somebody clicks on it in the internet, and certainly regardless if somebody buys anything, right?
Wow.
CPC, which was basically created by the internet because it's cost per click, and before the internet, there was nothing to click on.
Right.
That might have been cost per phone call or whatever. But cost per click means you're charged every time somebody clicks on your ad. So you go to Google, you perform a search, the first result listing, or maybe on the right-hand side if you're on your computer, you'll see a paid ads. You click on it. Google's only charging that advertiser when the click occurs, not just for seeing the ad. And then the third payment mechanism is called CPA, which stands for cost per acquisition. And that means that the advertiser is only going to pay the publisher when a customer ultimately derives from the advertising interaction.
Okay.
Right? If I'm Burger King in my example, and Yahoo is where my ad is shown, I'm going to go and say, I'm only going to pay every time somebody buys a Whopper from seeing your ad, right?
Right.
And so on the vertical axes, I have risk labeled, low to high. And so when you look at and then I have this diagram here that shows you. And so the bottom line is for publishers
awesome.
to get paid on a CPM basis, the risk is very low. If I call you, Tommy, and I say, hey, I want to advertise on your podcast, you tell me you got a 2 million person reach, I'll give you $10 CPM for your audience. That means that you're getting paid that money regardless of what the fuck happens. My ad could suck, my offer could suck. You don't give a shit. You're getting paid, right? The problem is for the advertiser, that's their grip. That's the highest risk.
Right.
They're like taking a flyer on you, right?
Yeah.
So the CPC model that was pioneered by advertising.com and other companies, I'm not going to we won't take sole credit. It was many companies. It was offered as a intermediary compromise between the advertisers and the publishers. Well, okay, you're not going to take the risk of me selling my product on you, but I'm not going to take the risk of you just paying you just to show my ad, right? I'll pay you to click it. So it was a semi-fair compromise. The problem is that it's not truly really equal in many ways. Every click is worth something unique and different on every publisher. On every placement. And then lastly, the cost per acquisition, right? Advertisers, the risk is the lowest. They only pay you for customers. If Toyota called you up today and said, Tommy, I want to spend $1 billion with you. You're like, awesome. But I only want to pay you $2,000 for every car that you bona fidely sell via your podcast. You would say, oh, well, okay,
Yeah, right.
And so that's why it's reflected there, right? Advertisers bear the littlest risk, but the publishers bear the highest risk. And so my brother, not me, I'm going to give him credit for it, he said, if we could solve that John Wanamaker problem, that problem
From
about
Philly.
half
From
of my
Philly.
ad dollars are wasted,
Shout out,
but I
Philly.
don't know which half of that it is. If we could solve that, then we could theoretically, it's a hypothesis, right? Because we could go to every publisher out there and say, hey, we'll buy your media the way you want to sell it to us. We'll pay you for every impression you show us. We're going to offer you what we think it's worth. We're not just going to pay you what you tell us that you want to sell it for, but we promise you we'll buy it under your preferred buying mechanism. And then if we could go to Toyota or Capital One or every other company in the entire world and say, hey,
Potions in motion.
Potions and Motions, exactly. My favorite catering company, South Florida.
Mine too.
Shout out.
Always.
If I could you could only pay me for every customer that I bring for you. Theoretically, you would give me a blank check, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Capital One says, hey, if I can just pay you $50 for every new credit card I issue, it's a hypothetical situation, even the numbers. Sure, I have a blank check. I would, I'll take as many cards as you can issue for me, through advertising as you possibly can, right? And so that was the hypothesis, that the publishers would sell us every ounce of their media that they possibly had if we just bought it under the way that they wanted to, and that advertisers would give us a blank check, the proverbial blank check, if we could just give them what they wanted, which was fixed-rate customers.
I see. So you're buying the media and then buying
exactly.
that. Right.
So it's an arbitrage model.
See, I didn't understand
and
all
so
this.
then the question is how?
How?
Right? Very
Right.
simply. And so I mentioned it briefly earlier, but the beauty of the internet is that it's a closed-loop marketing system, and what that means is that you can track every single element of the ad from the person who saw it and the data that you can glean off of them, which historically has been non-personally identifiable. Unfortunately, there's a new scourge on the internet of personally identifiable internet that we didn't do, but plus everything you knew about the website and the page you were on, the contextuality of it, the time, and then other factors. Time spent. But also time of day of week. I mean, all these factors, everything would come into consideration, and then you would ultimately know the outcome. Remember earlier, again, I mentioned, hey, Burger King really doesn't know if you drove by 95 on Forest Hill Boulevard and saw their big billboard and then 5 minutes later pulled over and got a Whopper because you saw that billboard. They may have some technologies now. I mean, it exists, to track it, but historically they never did. It's only the last 5-10 years that they did. But the internet provided that ability. And so once you provided that ability, then you had data that you could sit there and literally analyze and then ultimately write algorithms to optimize the outcomes of it based on it. And so we were the pioneers of doing that in display advertising in particular. We also did it in search advertising with the pay-per-click model on Google and so forth. We did it in email marketing. We did it in everywhere we could, basically apply the same kind of notion, which was stoking supply by offering the publishers what they wanted, best payment terms possible, and then also being able to offer the advertisers the best. Nobody could touch us. We were untouchable. Still, I believe, quite frankly, in many ways, the company, which is basically owned by Yahoo now.
That's what I was going to say. When I went to it earlier.
It's gone. We were acquired by AOL, and then, we stayed for 2 years. We left, and then AOL, I can't even barely remember, but they got acquired by Yahoo. Then Yahoo
that was a whole shit show.
Yeah, so many changes have occurred over the last. It's 19 years since I sold the company, crazily enough. So, a lot has happened, and but the technology's still in place. The business model's still there, fascinatingly, but the core technology. Just as an example, about 6 years ago, I was in a top tier ad agency in Detroit, and their chief innovation officer of the agency pulled me aside in a meeting. He wasn't even in the meeting; he just kind of knew who I was, and he said, I've always wanted to meet you. And I was like, blown away because I just, I'm a modest guy and all that. And I said, why? He goes, well, we spend $40 million a year with your previous company.
Wow.
And this is about 16 years after I left it. After I left it, right? And he goes, and nobody has a better technology than you guys. Google, Facebook, nobody. And Google has tens of thousands of engineers. Facebook, same thing, all working on advertising technology. But we had had a first mover advantage and great brain, and really more importantly, I should say, is incredible brains that people that made this all happen.
Yeah, made it simple, trackable, easy. And then isn't there a CPR? Am I right?
Cost per response.
Yeah. What the hell?
Well, that's the same.
Same thing.
A is action. So an action can be an email registration all the way to a car purchase. It's a catch-all. So response would be an action, right?
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because
response might be a phone call or a lead or whatever. But
because they always switch it up.
Well, you might hear like CPL. It's a very common one, cost per lead. But again, that's to us. That's just a subset of action. You're paying for a byproduct of the advertising's occurrence, right?
Mm-hmm.
An action, not just seeing it, not just clicking on it, but physically doing something afterwards.
Right. So engagement, like heavy engagement. Maybe.
Yeah.
This is the Godfather.
Yeah.
Get that? Are you guys getting that? I mean, 20 years ago, people were there's no electric cars 20 years ago.
Yeah, right.
I mean, we're talking about the Godfather of CP, whatever the fuck letter you want to put after CP. This is the fucking Godfather of CP fucking anything. Yes, I'm completely fried right now. But it is my birthday. Rob, stop laughing over there. How do we get a camera on Rob? This motherfucker in the corner. How do we get a camera on him? Get the fucking Rob camera on. There we go.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
But yeah, I mean that. Now to look back now and see what's going on with
No, turning to server, you had notes there.
Oh no, I don't need that. No, I typed it so I remember.
No worries.
Now looking back, when you see how YouTube's using ads, Spotify, all these other ones, that's your basis. Am I right?
What do you mean by that?
Like
basis?
the way they're using the CPM algorithm.
Yeah, I mean that's all. I mean, again, I can't take credit for the overall invention of it. It was a lot of us, not a lot of us. It was a handful of us 20 years ago who were all kind of pioneering this technologies. But yeah, all of it is what you see in Spotify, Facebook. As I mentioned earlier, if you you can bring it up. Go to patents.google.com and type in my name.
Patents, huh?
Patents. Close. Yeah, there you go. Rob's been drinking.
Yeah, he's had a few.
And then type in my name, JOHNFERBER. And if anybody wants a quick search of any patents, you can see. And so you'll see all these patents here.
Let's see.
And click on the top one just for a second.
This is crazy.
And what you're going to see is that Facebook owns it. See?
Blow that up, right?
Current. See where it says current assignee on the right hand side. It says Meta Platforms.
Yeah, right there.
That's Facebook.
Look at the inventor.
Yeah, but there's
Yeah,
the invention.
there you go,
So
buddy.
this is, what, 20 years ago? I don't know.
Big time, bro.
Yeah, 20. What's this?
Tommy, this is fucking big time. brother. This is fucking big time.
Yeah. So, it's the funniest thing is the greatest invention, the most lucrative invention
Google bought your patents.
that I created was actually we did not patent because I was so burnt out of doing patents. I don't know if anybody's ever done a patent, but it is like the most boring. I apologize to any patent attorneys out there. It is so boring. It's like you want to follow. You got insomnia? Go pick up a patent. I mean, it's just so arcane. It got all kinds of legalese and everything. And so and at the time, the patent office was taking years, like 5-7 years to issue a patent. By the way, my entire time from the beginning I started the company till I sold it was 6 years. I'm just trying to help you.
Yeah.
So I'm like thinking patents, spending time, boring lawyers, I filed tons of them. You can see them here. The one I didn't file is called retargeting. Retargeting is the thing that everybody sees. It's when you go to any product's website and then you see that ad follow you for like the next month or so. I created that.
Wow.
I did not patent it. It was my biggest probable professional faux pas I think I've ever made. And some people hate it. Obviously, it's a little invasive. But I have to tell you, and even my own self, I recognize the invasiveness, but there's many times when I've actually been appreciative of it. I'm like, gosh, thanks for reminding me. I meant to buy that.
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
So, but it is what it is. That's not me. I don't know the bottom gusseted pouch. I'm not a bottom gusseted pouch guy, but yeah. So there.
Maybe that's Pulitzer, and he put the wrong name.
Put the wrong.
Jovan Pulitzer, he's the guy who created the QR code.
Oh, okay. There
He's got
it's huge.
27,000 patents or something. That's all. Like, he's got the most.
I was so young, I didn't understand the value of all these things. In retrospect, had I just said I want a penny for every time, I would be a trillionaire. I'd be richer than Elon Musk. I swear to you. But I didn't. So
And then what led to the point where you still had a take in it, but you sold advertising.com because you were about to go public, right?
Yeah.
And then AOL stepped in.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'll give you the 2-minute quick story. I don't normally share the full story, but I'll give it to you. AOL was an investor of ours in our Series D round. They put in $7 to $10 million. But then, around the exact time that happened, they merged with Time Warner. And anybody who remembers the story of that remembers it was basically a debacle from
I just remember they destroyed MySpace.
Yeah, that. I mean, everything they did. But
AOL
there was a huge fiefdom. Who controlled it? Was I think it was billed as a merger of equals. I don't remember exactly. But the problem with a merger of equals or even close is who's the boss and who do you respond. So there was a huge internal stuff going on there. We didn't talk to them for years. They just they wouldn't give us their time of day. And long story short, and actually, it's going backwards to the worst day of my life, January of 2001. I was trying to explain to you is that at the end of the day, our core business model and that technology that I've now gone to explain to you. So what was the special sauce of advertising.com? Is that we could make this happen and no one else could.
That's great.
And no one else still can, in my opinion, by the way.
Pre-Google.
20 years later, no one else still can.
No one. And you see it everywhere.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But that exact preposition, the way that we have, executed against it. And so, long story short was two things were going on. So 2001 was the worst part of the company. Then we had 3 years of consecutive growth, quarter over quarter. We had a low point. We were doing $6 million a month prior to the dot-com crash. We lost 66% of our business. We were doing $2 million within 6 months. Companies were just disappeared.
Just falling off the
face of the planet, as I mentioned earlier. But we knew that our core technology worked. We really did. We saw it. We had the evidence internally. It was more of a function of getting the market to adopt it and accept it. And not only that, it was very frothy then. Funnily enough, we didn't need to use the power of our technology up until this had all happened. We built it, but didn't really need to harness it and leverage it. And then in the downfall, when everybody was going out of business and yada, 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 we were the only ones out there that could walk the walk. Tons of people were talking the talk.
But you could walk
the walk. And so all the smart money came to us. We had 3 years of consecutive growth. We went from, I don't know, 30 million to like 200 million over that period of time. It was pretty impressive.
Oh, yeah.
And we filed to go public. And this is the truth that most people don't know. So what happened was H&R Block was a huge client of ours. And in Q1, they spent more money than we had ever thought that they just kept giving us more money. And we're like, all right, we'll take it.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we didn't really think about the repercussions of that in respect to how we were going to go public and the timing and all that. And so in essence, we were going to go public the next quarter. Or actually, we were going to go public in like Q3, the beginning of Q3. But what happened was we were about midway. Tax season's April 15th. And as soon as that's done, tax dollars drop off the face of the planet.
Right.
And what happened was we quickly realized that our second quarter was not going to be as strong as our first quarter. And in the advertising industry, typically it's a seasonal business. Q1's the worst, and then it goes incremental through the year. So we were going to basically go public right after having a down quarter. And history had showed that when you do that or basically miss your quarter, your stock takes a 30, 50% hit 2-3 years. And so we were, be honest with you, it was pretty nerve-wracking. At the same time, AOL was sitting there flirting with us. And it was very distracting because they're like asking for more and more information. And we had Goldman Sachs as our bankers. We didn't want to distract them. We wanted them focused and all that. And finally, it was actually our COO, Gar Richland, who gave the ultimatum to AOL and basically said, you guys need to either put up or shut up because we need to be head down and focused on going public. We can't have
There's
you guys
bullshit
coming
all
in
around
with a
us.
million. Yeah, they would write us every Monday with like a 100-page, how's this work? Do it. You know what I mean? It was just very distracting, and especially when you're running a business and going public and somebody's trying to buy it. You know what I mean? It's extremely hard, and we're faltering.
How was your sleep at night?
I was okay. I don't know how, but I did sleep
I don't
through it. My brother probably didn't, but he shielded me from a lot. Thank you, Scott. Long story short was, I'll never forget it. We lived right across the street from we lived across the harbor from our office in the Baltimore Harbor, and my brother and I lived about 15 doors down from each other, and we get a phone call from the COO or top person at AOL, and they say, check your fax machine at the office. It's like 9 o'clock at night.
Fax machine.
Fax machine, yeah.
It's like 9 o'clock at night.
Tommy,
and
this
so
is
I had
new
a little
shit right
boat.
now.
Yeah, I had a boat that I commuted to work for. So a little
Took
skip.
a boat to work.
Tough life, buddy. Tough
And
life.
we put our dogs in the boat, and me and him, and we go over to the office.
I know this story, by the way.
to get the facts.
Yeah, exactly. And we get there, and it was in our general counsel's office, and he had locked the door. And so, our first thing is we can't get in.
That's what I would have.
But we don't give a shit. We call him. It's like 10 o'clock at night at this point. We're like, Tom, how do we get in there? And of course, his somebody who worked for him had a key hidden in one of the cubbies and all that. We get in there, and it's very surreal. So rush to the fax machine is 1-page letter. 1 page.
Not 100 this time.
No, it was 1 page, and it says like, "Dear John and Scott," or "Dear Scott and John." It goes, "Congratulations on a wonderful company you have built. We're very impressed by it. We think you're working on great things. We'd like to offer you $425 million for something like that, and it's all cash. And we'd like for you to stay, but you don't have to." It was weird. It was a weird letter. It was like surreal, but also like unbelievable. You know what I mean? You're like, wait a minute, they're just offering all this money.
$500 million. We'd like you to stay, but
you don't need to, and yada yada yada. Anyway, long story short was, it was obviously a seminal moment in our lives. We went home. We called Goldman Sachs the next morning because we had to confess to them we were flirting with AOL this whole time. They had no idea, but they were our bankers. And the guy, I'll never forget, he calls AOL. Once we told him, he calls AOL. He calls us back. Not even an hour had transpired. He goes, he offers $500 million out. He got it up for like
1999. In 1999.
Holy
No, 2004.
It was 04. I'm sorry.
still, that's 10 times on that.
10 times.
Yeah, and so long story short was, the offer was $496 million, some change, and we had a lot of thinking to do, and there was a lot of uncertainty in the market there. So before Google had gone public, 9/11 was still, even in 2004, it was still fresh in people's minds. The economy was like sideways. It wasn't growing. It was just kind of
all over
you know,
the place.
yeah, it was like, you know,
I
nothing was
remember,
really
yeah.
thriving. Everybody was just kind of surviving.
.com bust already happened.
Yeah, that had already happened.
you're
But
after
it was
the
more than that.
post.com bust.
9/11. I mean, it just destroyed
bang,
like
bang.
you know, the stock
Yeah.
market was you know, it was a recession, I guess, or whatever. But it was a tough decision to make. You know, is a bird in the hand or two in the bush, right? Do we go public, even knowing that we have this bad news that's going to come out, or do we take this deal?
yeah.
And so, obviously, you know how the story ends. We took the deal. I've done at least 25 public speeches that were the title.
26 now. 26.
The title of the speech is the worst. The day I sold my company for $500 million. It was the worst decision I ever made. And the reason why is that we stayed for 2 years, not out of a contractual obligation, but a moral obligation. We felt we had unfinished business, but
You sit on the board, right?
no, they dissolved the board, so I was
Oh.
just an employee. They gave me a
Okay.
nice little salary. The incentive to stay was nominal, but it was my brother but my brother, I'll give him more credit for. He's just a very he's like a kind of guy who's gonna deliver on whatever promise he makes, and he's very ethical and all that. And so we felt we had unfinished business, even though we sold the company. We didn't feel like we had gotten it to the point where we were ready to go, and so I committed to staying with him as long as he did, which was 2 years. But the point is that when I left 2 years later, the stock market recovered. Google went public. I don't know if you guys remember.
I remember.
When Google was
Yeah.
going public, people were laughing at it. Half the press was like, these guys are so arrogant. They're having this Dutch auction. It's so unusual. Nobody's ever done this before. Who did they think that they...
Dutch auction.
Yeah, Dutch auction.
Because if you remember, Yahoo was the king. at
Yeah,
the
of course.
time, right? Yahoo was king.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a story about that one too. But long story short is this was before we were forced to make this decision 2 months before Google went public. I remember it. They went public in August, and this was like in May,
Yeah.
And so I remember watching in the news, and half the news was saying Google's the next greatest thing in the world, and this is a juggernaut. And you should buy the shares at any price. And the other ones were saying these guys are ridiculous. There's no, but part of the problem with the .com crash was that internet advertising in particular was widely felt unproven to be effective, and so that was actually our biggest headwind. Through the whole thing was that they just felt that. You talk to a brand market or a P&G or whatever, like, the internet, it's like the metaverse. You know what I mean? They're like, that thing was here and there, it didn't work out, whatever. For a couple of years, now they realize it's the single most important channel out there, and the world has certainly changed, but that was kind of the sentiment at the time. But the reason why I say that it was the worst decision ever made was because, in essence, the enterprise, we doubled, if not tripled, the company's revenues during that time. I was there for 2 years.
Wow.
And it was probably worth like $6 to $10 billion.
Ouch.
Not that, it's pretty painful.
I'll take the magazine
I did
cover
have
over
many,
that one.
many drinks. No, the quick story of the magazine cover was that photo. They came and did a fluff piece on us. It might have been just 2 months earlier. I forget.
Yeah.
And the fluff piece was, all smiles. But the photographer just took a photo of me where I was just obviously looking pensive. I was upset or whatever. I just looked upset. I wasn't. And they find this stock photo of me, and they
fucking
blast
do.
that on the front page of the Baltimore Sun, and they're like, advertising that guy. It shows me in dismay, and I'm like, fuck, that's not even from the day. It's from
Stab it a little more.
exactly.
Right?
Fucking stick it in there.
It was a hard day. It was,
There you go, buddy. Birthday
Nice,
boy.
Brunsky.
Done.
And then, what did you do for
Happy birthday.
with Videology?
Well, that was my brother's company. So
But you
outside
worked with that,
Well,
right?
I was on the board, and I did come up with a name. I'll take credit for that. But outside of that, I actually didn't have a daily role there. I was a board member and an advisor to him. But he formed it in Baltimore, where he was living at the time, and I actually relocated down to Florida. And he just felt it was really, he had offered me an opportunity to be a partner with him in the business, but he also said that I would have to work side by side with him in person, and I just moved to Florida. It just wasn't in my mind space at the time.
Repertoire.
Repertoire. So I wanted to hang out with Jason and have singles parties and chill out on the beach.
Poor Bob, big delight. Because I mean, I know it's done, but it's quite just another thing was the leading paid content distribution platform.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then Simplify came in.
They did. Yeah, they
Yeah,
bought it in
that's
March.
wild.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's
Yeah.
called
Congratulations.
It's called The Real Deal.
Yeah, no,
called the real-
congratulations,
Oh,
Sean.
thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Yeah.
So now, how did you come up with this one?
So it's a couple of key insights, if you will. One is that most ads in the past, a banner ad was like one image that was created that would be shown to everyone. And let's just say E-Trade's a big advertiser. We've all seen them, right? So if I'm an E-Trade's agency and I'm making creatives for them, I'm going to make an E-Trade ad. And no matter what website that you see that ad on, it's going to look and feel exactly the same as the E-Trade ad that they created.
Mm-hmm.
The notion of native ads was, let's break down the elements of the ad. Well, the ad has colors to it. It has a text, typically has an image, description, or whatever they are, a logo, etc. And let's be able to assemble it in real time when the ad is shown to the consumer, and let's make it look like the rest of the content that they're looking at on the site. So if you're looking at a white website like Yahoo, I'm just making up an example, and it's white and black, and the E-Trade ad is all green, it's not very
Appealing.
it's dissonant.
Yeah.
It has like a contrast to it. Whereas if we delivered the ad, we would recognize the page was white, et cetera, the fonts were at the specific type, the size, and we would replicate all of that inside of the ad in real time so that it would look and feel much more like, the
Within.
content on the site. The second kind of insight was just in general, which
That's really
was
good.
that, and I still believe this, we never really achieved my dream for the company, if you will, because we sold it. But in essence, I believe every single piece of content that you consume has an economic value to it, and some people are willing to pay, in order for that to be seen, and that might not even be to buy something or what have you. You might create a documentary that you just are really passionate about, and you want 1 million people to see it, and you're like, well, how the fuck do I get 1 million people to see it? Well, what if a company can come to you and say, hey, I guarantee you I will show your 20-minute documentary to 1 million people with proof, and that I will only charge you for the people who watch the entire thing. So if 5 million, if a bunch of other people only watch 10 minutes of it, you don't even have to pay me, right? That was kind of
Wow.
And so
That's a hell of a selling point there.
and so
bro.
we have that technology. The technology actually exists already. The challenge was selling it into the marketplace of acceptance, right? And so, imagine you're a musician and you just, even a mainstream one, and you come out with a new track and you're trying to boost it, into the public's consciousness, etc. So, but by what I mentioned to you guys earlier,
That's huge.
we're hitting your phone.
I mean,
and your
who wouldn't sign up for that?
Well, I don't know.
Me neither. I mean, shit.
Well, everybody's got to have a monetization model. So a lot of
Yeah.
people create stuff and they don't, just being honest with you, and they don't really actually think through the whole thing. They're like, oh, yeah, I created this great thing, but how am I actually going to fucking make money from it, right? And, so there's a lot of that out there,
Right.
and most our advertisers at this company are extraordinarily sophisticated. Like Charles Schwab is an example. They wanted people to open investment accounts with them. They had a very sophisticated content. You can see our clients are all, these aren't, this isn't, a YouTube content creator who wants to get more views on his,
Right.
this isn't Mr. Beast, although I love Mr. Beast, but, you can see these are Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies, and what they're typically doing is what's known as content marketing. They're not just like, hey, here's my ad for Shell. Instead, there's like, hey, you'll see something about learn how Shell is helping the environment by cleaning it up in some capacity, and you'll click on it and you'll read a whole article or watch a video about how they're doing something in a positive way or whatever it may be. It's like
That's really good.
Yeah.
Wow. And then what made you sell it? I mean, Simplify had to come. I mean, this is brilliant. I mean, how did they approach you? What was,
trying to think if I should give the truth or the diplomatic answer.
or just a summary.
I'm gonna give you the diplomatic answer.
Diplomatic answer first.
Yeah, sure. So the company had been around for a while. It's about 11 years or so, and so we had multiple investors. We raised about close to $40 million in venture capital, over the term. And
You couldn't have bought Spotify?
Keep in mind. Listen. Keep in mind.
I'd be dealing
Tommy,
with you.
Tommy, keep in mind when Johnny calls a venture capital, it's not. It's a no-brainer. I mean,
Yeah, it's
Well,
a done deal.
I don't know. It took a
close.
while to
It's
get
close.
the money, but thanks, buddy. They have finite lives on their funds for their investors. They're typically 8 to 10 years, and then they have the right to extend them. Anyway, my point is like every investor gets tired after a while. And so we founded the company in 2011. Now we're in 2013. It's been 12 years. I just mentioned most of these guys' funds are only 8 to 10. So we had a little bit of tired investor aspect where, it'd be great if we could have bought them out and just made them happy or whatever. But they were, in essence, agitating for a liquidity event. And I don't mean it with any disrespect. But long story short is over the years, we did have people who had expressed interest in us to acquire us. So we hired an investment banker. The investment banker represented us. We decided to do a process, and to see how many people would be interested in bidding for us. And, ultimately Simplify came to the table with the offer. That was the best offer, and we took it. And I think the world of them. I think they're a good company, great company, and they've treated our folks well. And they're planning, as far as I'm aware of, they're planning to go public in a year or so.
Oh, wow.
And, I wish them the best.
Yeah, they're making some moves, right?
Yeah,
yeah. What else did they bought? Something else recently. I can't remember.
I don't remember what they bought, but in essence, they're basically trying to be like almost like a Salesforce in the advertising industry of the SaaS model, where you can license, all these different kind of marketing components.
Yeah,
and
congratulations.
Yeah, so thanks. For me, it was the best part about the entire deal, in my opinion, was it gave me my life back, because the moment we raised money. The first company, we raised $70-something million, but my brother did it all. I'm 5 years younger than him. And while I was at some of the meetings and everything, it was amazing how ignorant, or, ignorant is bliss, as they say. But I was completely never thinking about the stress of their money. I never cared about it, right? You know what I mean? Like, it was weird. I just never thought about, hey, these guys gave me $10 million. These guys gave me $20 million. I should care about this, right? I should. Never happened at ad.com, period. The day before I closed my first $3 million with BidSelect that I raised by myself, my brother wasn't there anymore, right? It's just me.
Just you dealing with it.
He gets on the phone with me, and he's like, and I'm talking to him. He goes, your life's going to change forever tomorrow.
You're not going to be 5 years younger anymore.
I go, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I go, what do you mean? I didn't know. He goes, oh, well, I was shielding you at ad.com. You had no idea, but the moment you take that money, these guys are going to be on your ass every single day, wanting to know how's their investment doing, wanting a report, having to be on the phone with yada, and every single waking moment of your life, you're going to be thinking in the back of your mind about how important it is for you to get them a positive return. It's going to weigh on you and gnaw on you, and he couldn't have been more right. It was unbelievable. And what's fascinating about it is that, the first round we had angels. So I mean, they were well-off folks, but I wouldn't call them professional investors like venture capitalists. And what I found was that I worried disproportionately. It's the old 80-20 rule. The people who gave me the least amount of money I worried about the most in that case. I didn't really worry so much about the professional investors, but it was all these small people that would keep me up at night. And
because you don't know if they're investing their life savings in you.
Well, they wouldn't, because they had to be accredited, but it doesn't matter. You just, I'm like I mentioned earlier about my brother, I care about my reputation. I try to do good in this world. I'm a good guy.
Yeah.
I want to. You give me money, I don't take it carelessly. I want to be a good custodian for it, and then get you a good return. I mean, that's my hope and sincere intent. It's just that there's so many factors outside of my control. And so with BidSelect, at the end of the day, I lost. Ultimately, it wasn't my decisions to solely make. I had a quorum of board members, and they decided what they wanted to decide. So.
When the fundraising word came, it was just like, that's how your face looked. It was
it literally did change my life. It's funny. In my late 20s, I was still at ad.com. My hair started turning gray. I sold the company. Not to take out of time because it'll take me a while to find the photos, but my hair turned as black as turned back as brown as black. It was amazing. Stress truly does cause grayness, amongst other things. Yeah. And for the next 6-7 years, I was like Jason, I was like you guys, all that. As soon as I raised the money, I looked in the mirror, the gray just started pour back in. And so, anyway, it was a nice journey. But I guess what I was trying to say at the end of the day was the greatest part about the sale was that I got my life back. I didn't have to worry about my investors anymore.
You can breathe.
I can breathe. You know,
Yeah.
I'm sweating it every day, and with the Black Tie Club, I'm the sole funder. I answer to myself.
And that sounds fun.
Yeah,
That
and it
sounds
is
fun.
It
Yeah,
is fun.
it's
Tommy.
not like breathing down your neck. This episode is brought to you by Fiji. More than just water.
This is not just rock. It's ancient volcanic rock that filters tropical rain, giving it double the electrolytes and its signature soft, smooth taste. It's not just water. It's Fiji water.
This episode is brought to you by Manscaped.com. Breaking news, Manscaped now sells beard products. That's right, they are once again revolutionizing men's grooming with brand new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. From a beard trim to a fresh shave, the technology behind Beard Hedger Pro Kit allows you to shave your signature beard look. Now you can finally use Manscaped products to make your drapes match your carpet by going to Manscaped.com and using code MSCS Media for 20% off and free shipping. No one likes a weird beard, so say goodbye to all the stubble trouble with Manscaped's Pro Beard Kit. It all starts with the Beard Hedger. This thing is a monster of fixing faces. First off, this cordless trimmer has a rotary wheel that gives you 20 hair cutting lengths, all with one guard. No more messing around in drawers, this color one, that color one, all with one guard. Plus, it's waterproof, so you can shave in the shower and avoid all that hair in the sink. The Pro Kit doesn't end there, though. First, there's the beard shampoo and conditioner. You need to remember your hair is different. Next, Manscaped's beard oil. Cap it off with beard balm. The Pro Kit also comes with 3 different gifts: a beard brush, comb, and scissors to ensure your beard is ready to impress. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code MSCS Media at Manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at Manscaped.com. Use the code MSCS Media.
The reason why I really love this fucking guy is because him and I know how to fucking live. It's about living.
Yeah.
We both grinded. I came from nothing. He had incredible opportunities, but no matter, I still work 100 hours a week. But you know what? You got to find somebody that appreciates certain things. That's what I love about you, Johnny.
What do you mean certain things?
Like certain things, like you can work, you can make money, you can make millions, billions, 10,000, $100, doesn't matter.
Right.
You got to still enjoy life. We're only here for an infinite time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really my objective.
That's
for
life.
my life.
Infinite time.
It took me about 39 years to realize that.
Tommy, you got to start hanging out with us.
Like
you got to start hanging out with us.
Yeah.
And I'd walk down to my garage, and my garage was looking very healthy. My house was healthy. My bank account was healthy, but miserable. Miserable, and I couldn't understand why. It really took 40 years because I
quality of life.
literally was working like just a madman. A madman, never doing anything. Maybe
Nothing wrong with that.
Lakers
About balance,
games.
yeah.
The only thing I
There's
would
nothing
do
wrong with working.
is I would take a flight on Thursday because I had season tickets to the Lakers to see Kobe. So I would leave Thursday night and come back on a red-eye Sunday for hell on Monday because I was gone for 3 days. So I had morons running everything while I was away because they didn't listen when I wasn't there.
Right.
So that's all I really did, But it took me that long to figure that out.
Yeah. It's tough.
It does that because you get hooked into it, and I think we're all extremists in here. And when you dig in, that's it. Like it's just like you got the horse blinders on. But like you said, then you have no life, and then things come,
And you're
and
right
you're like,
later.
what the fuck?
John,
Who cares?
It's all, Johnny said about balance.
I saw this guy speak. He's actually speaking at a group I'm involved in recently.
Tom, you could sell this.
I'm
You
not
could
gonna
sell this
throw anything
document.
on here,
Tom,
but
you could sell this
he
document on
has
eBay for $5 grand.
He's called the
$5 grand.
bucket list. He's like the self-proclaimed king of bucket lists. And I saw him speak, and he shows me one of the things he shows is his grid. It has 10 dots across the thing, and then 8 rows. So it's 80 dots.
Okay.
Right? And he starts asking you questions. He's like, how many of you know somebody who's died of cancer? At the time I was in a room about 20 people, and 10 people raised their hands. And he asked a couple other questions. And then, I have no idea what these dots are represent or anything. He goes, well, the average person lives to 80. He goes, there's 80 dots right there. 10 rows of 10 rows of 8. He goes, mark where your age is. When you see, how old are you?
41.
So you're young, okay.
42.
Still, you're at the halfway point.
41.
But when you see,
42.
Christ.
I'm 49, and I see this thing.
I'm 50 fucking.
Happy
I'm
birthday!
50 fucking today.
19.
And what you see
1982,
is that
41.
you've lived about 60% of your life at this point, and it's like this it hits you like a Mack
What
truck.
did I do? What did I do? What did I accomplish?
Well, or not? For me, it's not so much about what did I do. It's more about what do I want to do, and how do I want to structure the rest of my life. So I'm still figuring it out. I'm admittedly going through a semi midlife crisis right now.
Do you realize if anyone goes down to the Boca Resort on a nice calm day, this is the #1 surf? Do you know what surf foiling is?
No.
John, tell them what surf foiling is.
Well, e-foiling. You bring it up.
Bring it up, John. Rob.
bring up e-foiling.
Rob, e-foiling. Rob, can you get e-foiling with John Ferber? Can you get that on a Google search?
Well, you can go to YouTube and
But
see.
I want to see if I can get you, John, live. Let's go live. E-foiling, e-foiling, John Ferber.
Now, while he looks,
E-foiling is
Go
Going right out your backyard. Right.
Foiling is a newer, I don't know, it's probably been around, well, I don't know how long it's been around, but it's been popularized over the last 10 years. But the concept is any of these water sports, kiteboarding, which you're about to see what I do, even sailing, and now they're putting them in electronic boats. You type in John Ferber e-foil.
John Ferber e-foil. Rob, come on.
That's it right there.
Oh, yeah, there I am.
This is him.
This is my old house.
This is him. Watch this. Watch this.
Oh, you do this.
Put this live.
Yeah.
Blow it, John,
So what-
Rob,
so
blow
what
it
that
up. Full
is,
screen.
is,
Full
is,
screen.
uh,
There he is.
Hey, guys.
You're not,
Yeah.
you're not gonna.
Oh,
Tommy,
you do
Tom,
that. I want to do this.
I
I wanna
actually
You're not
try
gonna
that.
believe this.
I
shit.
suck today in this video.
You like jump up and down with this thing, right? It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's just the water needs to be like as soft as can be. So unfortunately, it's great videography. It's bad.
Tommy, he's got a drone that follows him around like a
Yeah.
like a lazy dog. It follows. He's got a drone that follows him. John, tell us about your
He's
drone.
a drone guy.
What drone do you got?
So I've got everyone, but the one that I use for this, see, I fell right away. The one I use primarily is the Skydio 2.0.
Okay.
They just stopped selling them for consumer versions. But the reason why I love it is it has a beacon, and the beacon I wear around my neck.
Yeah, and it just follows that.
And then
GPS.
exactly, because DJI and everybody else uses images, they're using software to determine for visual tracking.
Right,
and what happens is if I fall and like the sun is in the thing, it'll just lose me.
Oh, there's the pump house. It's over by.
Boynton Inlet. My house is right there, the second house
This
right
is
there.
John's house right there.
Yeah.
I really want to try this. I want to try this in kiteboarding.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a lot easier. I've tried kiteboarding countless times. Trust me, this is a lot easier.
Robert,
I have no
John,
interest in kiteboarding, but give me this.
John, how many extra
I have
foils
I
do you have?
7 of them.
He has 7 foils, Rob. Let's do a foil party next weekend.
We can do a
Let's do a foil party live.
I'll be
It's
there.
7 at the Boca
like
Resort. We leave from the
that
Boca
area
Resort.
right there is where Larry Ellison paid $175 million.
Oh yeah.
If you hit back for a little bit, you can see it. Yeah, right there. That right there was the Ziff estate, right there on the right. And Larry Ellison bought that from Jim Clark for $175
Yeah, I
million.
saw that.
Does he ever go there?
I doubt it. That's funny you
Yeah.
say that. I don't even know if you ever saw it in person. I know.
No,
I know.
it's just I know
He
when
has
I-
a $100 million house in North Palm Beach on the ocean too.
So, question for you: How long have you been doing that for? Because
I've got about 400 hours in 3 years.
and how? So okay, so anybody watching it, right? Like kiteboarding.
That was like hour 20 when you just watch it.
So how long? How long does it take to get used to that? The balance. You got to your core has to be. You got to work your core. a little,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's gotta
What I tell people, as long as if you're massively out of shape or what have you, or you don't have any sense of balance, whatever, I don't know what to tell you. But if you're at least good on your feet or what have you, most people are standing up within about 10 minutes. And then that's like riding with the board against the water, and then you have to learn how to foil. Most people within 1 hour are able to do it and understand it. And then I would say it takes about 5 hours to what I call master the sweet spot. The sweet spot is this spot where your mast is, it's this zone, it's a zen zone where you're just like, you literally feel like the seagull
You're flying.
flying
Yeah,
over
yeah.
the water. And it's amazing. I can't really, it's just this adrenaline and euphoria that you feel. But then your objective is really to maintain that sweet spot as long as you can. But, most people, I would
I've
say,
seen
up
it.
within an hour and riding it and feeling pretty good about it, mastering it after 5, or they're not falling every.
Yeah, I want to try that. I've seen.
welcome to
I've
come.
seen
Rob,
people do
Rob.
that.
I'm sure that is
Yeah.
so good for the mind.
Yeah.
Rob,
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
you
exactly,
can't
yeah.
think about other
Yeah,
things,
exactly.
right?
Yeah,
Rob,
because
yeah.
focus is incredible.
Yeah.
We gotta get
Sometimes
you
when
out.
I get distracted.
I'd like
It's
to
like
do
the
that.
second you get distracted, you fall.
Yeah, I wanted to do kiteboarding. I've seen people do kiteboarding, but I'm just afraid. Like, the wind's just gonna pick up and I'm just gonna go
Too many
right into a
variables.
house.
Too many variables.
Yeah.
I've tried kiting countless times. This is in essence half of kiting.
Sure, because you just don't have.
You got the board. You just have to deal with the kite. And you know what? One of the most amazing things is actually what you see underwater.
Yeah.
Because I'll see, like, in a typical day, I'll see 15 sharks, stingrays,
Turtles.
sea turtles, tarpon, and
John, you got to give him the preference on where you're at and what you do. Like if you wake up in the morning, he lives at the 1,000 Ocean.
jot about that word.
one-
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, 1,000 Ocean. It's the corner of the Boca at the corner of the Boca Inlet. Let's say the north side of the Boca Inlet.
South side.
Why don't you give him his
north
fucking
North
door?
side.
Why don't
Yeah.
you give him the fucking alarm
nice.
code
It's,
too?
Social security number. Social security
The
number.
north side of the Boca Inlet. Now he's got
Ferber
Rob. He's
window.
got 7 extra foils. You guys better take this up fast, okay? Because
I'll do
you
I
go
love
right
to
out
go
on a
this weekend.
calm morning. You walk out the
You
back
guys
door.
will be fine. Yeah, absolutely.
Walk out the back door.
Yeah.
Take a foil and you drop it in the Atlantic Ocean behind 1,000 Ocean, and he will show you how to foil. I swear to God, you'll be having packs of manatees and sharks.
I'll take you
with
up on that.
Watch the videos. It's the most insane thing. When you could say that your life now is taking you to a point where Aquaman status, you're swimming with fucking sharks.
Yeah.
That's
Actually, the
what I
coolest
watch
thing
him
is
on
about-
videos. Show him again. Get a good video, John. So tell to Rob where they get to a good one on
type
YouTube.
my name in there again. You might see one that's at the Boca.
Just type
that's
John
not- you have to
Ferber.
Go to Facebook. I don't know if you're on Facebook.
Yeah.
Scroll down.
I'll type
Oh, the
in-
Secret Millionaire is
put-
another
put-
great
Put
story.
e-foiling in there, though.
Yeah, I was
E-foil.
just gonna. Well,
We'll get to that.
Rob,
Let's finish the
Whatever you
e-foiling,
want,
then we'll go to
whatever you
Secret
want,
Millionaire.
Whatever you want to do. It's fine by me.
Yeah.
Scroll down.
Oh, that's a good
there
one,
you go.
John.
Trudy,
That's a good-
there
breathe
you
the
go.
air, breathe
no,
the
no,
air.
right there. No,
This
that's
one?
what we just saw. We just saw. Yeah, right there.
This one. That one.
Yeah, so
821.
this is where I live.
Backyard.
Yeah, and then notice this another inlet. This is the Boca Inlet.
Fast forward a little, Rob. Fast forward.
Yeah, it just takes a minute. You go in there. You go.
Watch.
So now,
Now he's got the drone
now I'm
following him.
By the way,
What's
I'm an
the drone?
expert now. The other video, I'm like falling left.
John,
Yeah.
what's the expert for Rob? That's a drone expert. What are you rolling here with?
And I'm using the Skydio here. I can just tell by the quality of how well it's tagging me.
Now you see how you have your right knee bent?
Yes.
Is that important to keep one leg straight and the other one bent for
You'll
balance?
see. You notice how I'm constantly. It's
You're
all about
moving
the
with the-
micro
I
movements.
see.
It's all about. When you're driving a car and it's innate.
Yeah.
Because you've been driving it for so
Yeah,
long,
yeah,
you're not
yeah.
thinking about it. It's the same thing. It's these innate little movements. The whole trick behind riding the board is actually the smallest movements possible.
But it's a motor, right? Is that what?
Yeah,
that
it's
is?
a little trolling engine, like on a on a little fishing boat, and underneath it, and so the mast is about 3 feet, and so what you're seeing right now is it almost looks like I'm floating above the water, but you can obviously see the water coming off the mast, and so I'm about 3 feet above the water. But for me, when you're on there, you feel like you're truly floating on air, and it's just an extraordinarily euphoric feeling.
That's like the
wild.
Back to the Future hoverboard
Yeah, exactly.
that was
That's what I
supposed to come out
described.
about
Marty
10 years
McFly
ago.
hoverboard.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's probably the closest we will be in real life
Right.
in our lifetimes to experiencing it.
Now, when Back to the Future 2,
Yeah.
when they wrote that script, do you think that they really thought that?
That would exist.
Yeah, that's-
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, that was some
I think
pretty
they did.
fantastical stuff.
I think
but,
they did too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
We had Dr.
good point, yeah.
Turi in, and he went, Dr. Turi, he went underwater all the way down for 100 days straight.
Yeah.
He didn't
Where,
do
in Key West?
where did
Yeah,
Keys.
he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, off there.
That observation place. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had him last week, and he didn't do it for a record. He had done it because they had found a species down there that was a partial cure for Alzheimer's.
Yeah, crazy.
Like crazy stuff down
Yeah.
there. So he went down, and what was
A
so
species like a fish or
Yeah.
More organism somehow.
somewhere on the bottom.
Yeah.
So more like
Both
an
my
organism.
parents have it, so I'm just curious. Yeah.
Yeah, so an organism. So
Yeah.
it was a partial cure. So he had prepped a lot with that hyperbaric chamber thing.
Yeah, that's
He does
what
that.
my parents. We just bought one for my parents.
Yeah, he lives and dies by that, but
Yeah.
they won't publish it.
That's what when you were saying. I
cut-
was going to say that him being underground for 100 days is like basically living in a
Yeah.
hyperbaric chamber.
He's
so
huge into it.
When he came up,
Yeah.
you can say do your age.
Yeah.
He went down at 55.
Yeah, well-
100 days later, he came back 33.
What would they use to test it?
I forget.
Whatever
Yeah,
the top
yeah.
notch. What I can
Have you heard of Tally?
now because I never done it, but I
did
can
it.
assure
You can bring it up if you want. TALLY.com. But I did it. I'm embarrassed to tell you.
Uh-huh.
By the way, I'm in the dating business, as you guys know. Every day, both men and women, by the way, they say every single one says the same thing. I'll say it'll be like I'll just say me. I'll be like I'm 49, but my biological age is 39. Everybody lies or just says that they're younger than me. Anyway, I order this tally test. It says I'm 2 years older than I.
You're like, you motherfucker.
It was the ultimate slap in the face.
Maybe you got punked. Maybe you got punked.
Yeah, man. I was bummed out, to say the least. So.
What was interesting about the Turi was...
But I partied pretty hard about it.
Yeah. So where, like, the thing he was in, the sharks accepted him.
Yeah.
So the shark he had like a little doormat. So when he would walk out of his thing to go do research, the sharks would
hanging
sleep.
out.
They were hanging
there.
out.
Yeah.
Like they accepted him in. They'd hang out with them, everything. It was just so...
Most sharks are, I'm sure you probably know, most sharks are actually very docile animals. It's just, they got a bad rap with that movie Jaws. And
that was the end of it.
I mean, isn't there some human beings that go around killing people?
Right.
Yeah,
a few.
Do we
so.
hate all human beings?
Now, do you scuba dive at all? Have you?
I do. I've dived. I've dived over 100 times. But where I live, where that video was, there's amazing shallowish reefs that I can snorkel. And I bought one of these. It's called Aqua.
Like the jet.
No, I have those, but it's actually an amazing thing. It's like the brownie's third lung. So basically, it's a compressor that sits on the surface of the ocean, and then I have
you go down,
and so I have 260-foot tubes, so I can just go down literally for 5 hours. Not that I ever have, but that's how much battery power it has.
Wow!
And you can just stay down and dive for as long as you want. So really? To go like 60, 100 feet. I just haven't done it in a while. But yeah. But it's nice.
John, can we invite these guys over for a happy hour one day?
Of course.
At the spot,
man.
like a third of date. It should be on a Sunday. Listen, it should be on a Sunday morning. We'll bring some beautiful babies.
Like 8
we need to do
o'clock
some snorkeling, some jetting. I'm serious.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right here. It's at the inlet. I mean, this is a no-brainer, Tommy. This is a no-brainer.
Done deal. Tell me the
All
day
right,
and
man,
time.
Next Sunday, October 1st.
I didn't ask you last time. When the 2008 crash happened, how did that affect you?
2008 crash. Well, I opened up the business in 2006, so that crash affected me in a massive personal way.
Okay.
That pretty much shaped my life. So I moved here in 2006. I had bought a home in Long Island in 1997 for $117,000. I sold it for $435,000.
Nice.
I opened up a business in 1992. I sold it in 2004 for $400,000. So I basically moved to Florida with $700,000 in equity, more money than I've ever seen in my world. When I moved here in 2006, I bought a couple of properties. That was what was happening at the time. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a business. I met a couple of guys, invest in real estate, and it was the most money I've ever was into. And I invested it into 3 homes in Boca. One in a development called San Simeon, one in a development called in Boca Point, and another one in Sierra Del Mar. Then the crash came, took those properties and took them to shit.
Dead.
So basically, I took everything I ever worked for.
Yeah. Put it into the properties. The crash happens.
Back to zero.
You lost everything?
Everything.
Holy shit.
Foreclosure, everything. So, again, from a guy that came from nothing, not a big deal. I started up,
It
figured
was like
it out.
another day, right?
Just another day. Never had it. Fuck it. So that was when I started to grind again and get into the business that I'm in and started bartending and progressing. But the whole progression of coming up with living in a poverty environment, living in a trailer park, and I tell this to my kids, and every time I've only had the chance 3 times in my life to take my 13 and 15-year-old boy to Long Island, but every time I take him there and we land in Islip, as soon as you get out of the airport, right across from the airport is a dump. And that dump is on Lincoln Avenue and Veterans Highway. People that will notice. That's where I lived. I grew up in this trailer park that bordered an industrial park and a dump. And to this day, I never forget the size of my house that I lived in, because everything is size, and I'm an only child, but still, when you live in a house that's 12 feet wide by 48 feet long, that's 600 square feet. My bedroom now is 600 square feet. So it's relative. But at that time, you don't know any different.
Yeah.
And I try to bring that to my children who, I am very, very, definitely very happy that I think they appreciate life and the things that they have. But 600 square feet is 600 fucking square feet. You can't debate that.
Right.
And I'm not saying it was a bad time in my life, but what I'm saying is it was 600 square feet. And you always got to go back to that.
To remember where you came from.
You got to remember that 600 square feet, even though I lived a great life at the time, that's life. And, what did I look for at that time in my life? And I looked to always want to do things that were bigger and better. And, then I never forget that the house that my parents that were very young when they had me bought after that was 1,000 square feet, double wide. We had what was called a double wide. It's not funny, but we had to call it double wide. So do the math, John. The double wide was 24 by 48. So what's the math on the 24 by 48? It's got to be around 1,000 square feet. But it gave us 2 bedrooms and a living room. Double wide. At the time when you went from a single wide to a double wide in the 70s. This was...
I remember growing up.
That was like the Jeffersons.
This is a big deal. But again, it didn't matter to me because I didn't know the value of anything. Right. So to me, it was awesome.
It was cool.
It's fucking awesome.
So how do you take... So here's my question. I got 2 boys, teenagers.
How old?
16 and 13.
And, same.
And so, I came from a small old coal mining town. And my parents were hard workers, instilling me good, work ethic, and all that type of stuff. And I didn't grow up in a big place, and the town has seen its better days over the years. But we go back there because my parents still live there, so go back to visit. Because I want to show my kids where I grew up. And I was an only child, and my dad bought me 1 pair of Jordans a year.
Same.
So it was one of those things where my kid would be like, "We got Jordans." I'm like, "Yeah, I got 1 pair." I lived in a basement, all right, of an apartment building, and so I try to give my kids more, right? And that's the goal, right? To give your kids more. But where does it become the fine line where you got to teach your kids too? Like, I want you to have more than I had. I want you to do better than me, without that spoiling where they become these. They don't want to do anything. Right. My kids aren't like that. But where's that fine line?
So I don't think it's about giving your kids more. What I think it's about is giving your kids values.
Values.
And we live in a capitalist economy, and you have to treat them like what it's like to be a capitalist. And a capitalist is a guy that goes out and does his time and makes his money. And that's a value. And you have to say, listen, I don't disvalue the mechanics, and I don't disvalue the nurses, and I don't disvalue the other jobs, because everything's part of life, and they all live great life. But what I love about capitalism is that I don't have limits. And I love to teach my children that, listen, the worst thing that, like, not the worst, but limits may hinder progress.
Right.
If this is the prime example. Like this, somebody told John that he was in a socialist society, and he said, listen, John, no matter what you do, you cap out. Think about the technology that John brought to the advertising world that we now call Google and Instagram. John's back in the fucking Facebook era. I mean, no, the MySpace era, okay? And he was pioneering things that no one understood. And if people put a limit on what he was going to do then,
right,
we wouldn't be here right now. So, there's a fine line between teaching children about that capitalist mentality, but, you also have to teach them to be good citizens. But at the end of the day, I got to where I am because of what I did. And I take a lot from who my parents were, and I take a lot from my friends that I met, and I take a lot from people that have influenced me. Right. But I've only got to where I am because I had the chance that society gave me to be who I am.
Go through the slideshow of his picks. Losing $700K to nothing. Pictures.
What do you got? And I met everybody from
but I mean,
who do you got?
But I mean, you move down here and you lose $700,000. People are going to go one or two ways. They're going to say, "Fuck it." Dude,
people
go off
don't
the
give a
deep
shit.
end.
People don't care about how much money you lost.
But what I'm saying is, a person, if they lose $1,700,000, either they're going to go off the deep end. It's one of two choices.
Listen, the one trait I'm going to tell you right now, and everybody that's listening, the one trait that made me so successful is this: you got to understand that when you come from nothing, you don't fear losing it all. I'm not telling you that you take uncalculated risks. Life is about calculated entrepreneurial risks.
That's Russell's brother, right?
That's the life. The guys that I rub shoulders with now, if I would have told you as a child in a trailer park that I was going to be hanging out with Guy Fieri and Pitbull and Brett Michaels and Flo Rida. Go back one more. Go back one more. Go back one more. Go back
Well,
one
who
more.
is that? We've been trying to figure that out for a week.
This is the one back. The one
Now,
back.
tell us who that is first.
I'll tell you that in a second.
Screw that guy. Tell us about this.
The one back. This is a great story.
right.
So this is a great story.
Justin Herbert, right?
This is a great story.
Come on.
Who said
trying to
Justin
figure out
Herbert?
for a
Who said Justin
Justin
Herbert?
Herbert.
This is a great story.
Go ahead.
Because the only one that appreciates the time that I got to spend with Justin Herbert is my oldest son, Max.
He likes him. He's right.
He just loves fucking football. My oldest son, Max, is a quant of football. So I happened to be in Vegas in January, right after the Chargers got kicked out of the playoffs. So I'm at the Aria on a fucking hangout junket. I sit down and I'm looking across at the other pit, and I'm there with a friend of mine that has no knowledge of football. And I said, Bruce, do you know who's at that table? He goes, no, who? That's Justin Herbert, the fucking quarterback from the Chargers, with the entire fucking front line, with the entire offensive line.
Oh my God.
He had no idea. So I said, listen, you know what? I got to go over there. This is a fucking crazy story. This is actually the best fucking story. So there was seat 6 was open. Does anybody know what seat 6 is on a blackjack table?
The end.
It's the end. So I sit at the end, and I'm sitting with 2 offensive linemen, 400 pounds, 300 pounds each, Justin Herbert, and 2 more offensive linemen. Now, what I've learned since then is that when these guys go out to party,
Don't go to that table.
no, the offense parties together and the defense parties together.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's
And the offense protects the quarter. They go out almost protective of Justin Herbert in social situations. There's no body. These guys don't have bodyguards. This is at the Aria in Vegas. This is not like Kanye West. This is real life. Okay, this is a kid, Justin Herbert. He's 22 years old. He doesn't even know what he's got. So I sit at I told my buddy, I got to go sit at that table. He goes, go for it. I said, just the fact that I walked over to a table with 4 offensive linemen and Justin Herbert playing blackjack mid-shoe,
Right.
was a lot. But I said, you know what? The way I approach these situations, this is life for everybody. The way I approach these, the way I approach these situations, I go, you know what do I got to lose?
Right.
yeah.
Right.
I got
That's
nothing
true.
to lose.
Oh, yeah.
So I sit down in table 6, but respectfully, I ask Justin.
Is there mid-shoe entry?
I go, no. I knew there was. I knew mid-shoe was fine. They were playing at a $50 minimum. What's $100? And crazy enough, these guys are all playing table minimum. They're all loaded, but they're all fucking kids playing table minimum. They don't even know how to play. That's the crazy other thing. So I sit down and
What was the table minimum at that table?
it was a $25 table, like some bullshit 6 to 5 blackjack. Nobody would sit at this table. 6 to 5 blackjack. I mean, this is like kids like this. Kids like Justin Herbert are sitting at this stupid table because they don't understand 6 to 5 blackjack. Does anybody else understand 6 to 5 blackjack?
Oh, it's hard.
John, besides you? It's horrible. 6 to 5 blackjack, you might as well stay home. Why play blackjack if it's 6 to 5? They're taking a vig.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to ask. I said, the whole 5 people, 4 offensive linemen and Justin Herbert, I go, collectively, do you mind if I sit here? No, go ahead. Sit down. Why not? They're 20-year-old kids. Yeah. So now, I got a massive bank. I have a massive bankroll anyway. It wasn't about the bankroll. No, it wasn't about the bankroll. At this point, if you guys have ever played blackjack and been on a run with a table, it's about camaraderie.
Yeah.
Camaraderie rules. Camaraderie rules right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, played one hand, deal of busts, everybody wins. I'm playing 700, 800 hand.
That's what I know.
Justin,
else is at 25.
Justin Herbert, $210 million contract, playing $25 minimum. Doesn't know what he's doing. Doesn't really matter at this point. This is the best part. This is the best part.
16.
So we all win that hand. I look at them and I go, guys, let's. I just collectively, I said, guys, up the bet. So I upped my bet to 1,200. They all kind of up their $50 bets to 100. Next hand, everything's going through. I'm at the last seat now. The last seat, so it's critical here because the timing on what I'm about to tell you is what got me to this video. Okay, because you just never able. No, this is not at the table anymore. This is the video that I negotiated after what I'm about to explain to you for my son. I negotiated this video after what happens right now. So
Don't tell me he gives you a BJ. Just kidding.
You can tell us. You can tell us.
okay. So everybody plays the hand, and it comes to
It's
me.
okay.
What do I get? What do I get? I get a pair of fives.
Oh,
Dealer's showing a 5.
double?
Now the card says double.
Yeah.
You know what I do,
You try.
Tommy? I split. I go, I want more. I want to make this memorable. I'm not just going to double for the 10. I'm going to split. I split the 5s
Nobody.
against everyone.
Everybody was hating you.
Split the 5s. First hand, I pop an 8, 13. Deal's got a 5, I stay. Second hand, pop a 6, 11.
You double.
$1,000 hand, I double.
How much did you tip the guy?
Listen,
It's not over.
I double, flip over a 10, 21. So now I got 3,000 on the table. The entire front offensive line of the San Diego Chargers cumulatively has maybe $100 on the line. Okay, but these are to them. This is a big deal. This is a big deal. I'm just happy to be. I don't listen. Now, to me, this is a $3,000 experience.
Right.
Like I can't buy this. This is a $3,000 life experience that I'm willing to wager. If I lose it all, I got a great story. Deal has a 5, flips over a 10. This is the God's honest truth. I call a timeout. I fucking audible to the dealer and the pit boss. I said, listen, we need some time to think about it. I just call a timeout.
What do you think?
I know when I think about what
Calls on audibles.
It's not
There's no more thinking.
my wife, people that know me, they know I do this often in big times like this because I want to cherish
The moment.
The
That
moment.
makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, I call a timeout. I want to make sure that the San Diego
You could call a
Chargers.
timeout.
No, listen, I want to
got
make
more
sure that the
audibles
San
than-
Diego Chargers and Justin Herbert is on board here. I go, guys, are you fucking ready? Flips over a 10, he busts. Now, the camaraderie now. I'm now up hugging guys that are 325-pound linemen.
Yeah,
Okay?
right.
They just made $50. I'm hugging Justin Herbert. He just made $60. Guys,
With a
worth
$220 million
He's worth
contract.
$200 million. He just hugged me over $60. They said, dude, you're a fucking maniac. First, because the way it would have worked out if I didn't split, the way the cards would have fell, we all would have lost.
Yeah.
So it was almost like a
Taking
Houdini.
one for the
It was like a
team.
Houdini.
Yeah.
So I said, can you do me one?
Right, because the dealer would have gotten the 6. Right?
Right, exactly. I said, can you? Yes, exactly. Look at this guy. Okay.
So
I think he knows his numbers.
You think?
Maybe.
So I said to him, I said,
It's a wild guess.
Justin, can you give me a little shout out to my son Max? And this is a video you guys can't appreciate here, but he breaks away from the table and does a 1 minute. This is the top quarterback in the league. A shout out to my son. To me, I mean, and listen, I have a lot of money. I don't have this kind of money, but I have a lot of resources. This shit is
Can't
he
what
does
I
have a bigger
fucking-
penis than me.
This is the, I do. This is the shit I fucking wake up for. And that experience,
Let's see it.
that's the shit. Max, I'm here with Justin Herbert. I just maxed a fucking $5,000 with the fucking Chargers. Max, the whole front line. I mean, listen, this is
Steve Rudd's in the back.
Steve Rudd's in the back. That's Steve Rudd, who I told
Yeah,
you.
he was
That's
talking
Paul
about-
Rudd's. Paul Rudd's
it's a
fucking
classic.
cousin.
Yeah.
He's
Steve
coming
Rudd.
on next.
Yeah,
Paul Rudd's
awesome,
cousin.
brother.
Next
He's
round.
hilarious.
He's hilarious. I take this guy he's on a cruise, by the way. Shout out to Steve Rudd on the Virgin Cruise today. Steve, I'll see you Saturday at the Hard Rock. But he's that. Yeah, but
Yeah.
this is like you never can ever discount this. My every day I wake up, I'm so appreciative, and it's not about money. It's just
Experiences
I'm
that
just so-
nobody can. It's memories that nobody can take from you.
And if I sold my company, that would be the one thing I miss is access.
Yeah, but you have so much now, and you make good friends.
It's not about
with
me. It's
people.
now about the next generation.
Can we know who this is?
Yeah,
now?
Who is this?
I forgot all
Who
about
is
her.
this?
Okay, that woman's name is Keena. And if anybody goes to Vegas and they want to know about having the best time in Vegas, let me know. Keena is the shit.
Oh, we were trying.
Next.
We were looking up 2,000
Tina.
actresses and everything, trying to
That's
figure
Guy
out.
Fieri. Guy Fieri. By the way,
I
Guy.
was like, who got a lot of plastic surgery?
Guy, she looks great. She's not that. She's our age. Guy Fieri lives across the street here,
Yeah.
literally across the pond. This is the nicest celebrity I've ever met. Invited Justin and I to his house a couple of months ago. Private dinner, cooked us dinner.
Wow.
So think about, as a kid growing up, if you wanted to have a chef's work for you and say, at the end of the day, I'd like to make these chefs' lives more fulfilled. How do I do it? Last night, we worked with Todd English. Last month, Guy Fieri cooked us dinner at his house. These are the things I live for now. It's not about the monetary accomplishments. It's about just doing things that people will remember. You got to think life is all about remembering instances. Nobody will ever remember how much money you have. They will only remember the fucking stories, the things you've done, the places you've seen. No one's ever going to go, shit, that guy died with $20 million. That guy died with $50.
Well, and also money comes and goes, business comes and goes. Memories, nobody can take memories from you. Nobody can take them. There you go.
Warren Sapp. So when I told my kids and my son, my
We were
kids
talking
are
about him
massive,
earlier.
massive ball player fans. Last season, I said, let's go to a Tampa Bucks game. We took Warren Sapp with us.
Jeez.
That's wild.
Now I tell my kid, and this is, I don't
Family,
mean,
man.
I don't want, what I'm about to say, I don't want it to be taken derogatory, but I tell my kids, I said, you guys realize that this is Make-A-Wish shit? And I'm not discounting Make-A-Wish because I donate to Make-A-Wish. I said, you kids have Make-A-Wish access. And I hope you fucking realize it. Because I've lived my life and I've worked my life for this access. It's not about the bank. This is the shit that I live for now. For real. And
Congratulations.
And it's, I truly believe they realize it. Because if for a second I thought they discounted it, I would put them in check. But,
But coming from what you came from in catering, I mean, that's a tough field.
catering.
To take it to this point,
Let's talk about the trailer park. I used to chase a garbage truck because I
Yeah.
love recycling. I mean, I came from Zip.
yeah.
But
Congratulations, man, and drive.
my boy, Warren Sapp. Warren Sapp was in the office last week. He gets our sexy wings every other week.
The sexy wings, everything's sexy with him.
We'll get him in here.
Yeah.
We'll get Sapp in. Sapp's an awesome guy to interview.
Yeah, and he's with
And now
Prime
he's with
Time.
Colorado.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. We'll get Sapp in on the next one. man.
And you got some TV experience too, huh?
I do. Yeah, I was
Millionaire.
on a TV show.
Now,
Yeah.
when they approached you about that, did you really want to do it? How much debate was in that?
Yeah, that's a great
'Cause
question.
I'm sure you had to
I mean, it was out of
think
left
that
field.
through.
Since that show, I'd actually been pitched on probably 10 or 15, but that was the first one I was ever pitched on. I wasn't, it wasn't something I was thinking about. But what happened was the show had run in London, the UK, for a couple of years beforehand. And they sent me a few episodes, the casting agency or what have you, to take a look at them. When I watched them, I was genuinely moved by the spirit of the show. I'm a pretty emotional guy. Like I used to always say, whenever that Extreme Makeover House Edition was on, I would the last 5 minutes, I was just bawling tears. I don't know why, but this show actually replaced that show. That was the replacement show for Extreme Makeover Home Edition. Anyway, I saw how they did it, and I was really touched by it, and it just kind of moved me, and so I volunteered to do it. And then, as a quick aside, I unfortunately didn't do that much research, and what they didn't tell me was that Fox had picked up the show for a year before ABC did. Well, Fox sensationalized the entire concept, and they were like, "Let's stick a guy with a lot of money in a horrible
Skid Row.
situation and show him."
They put his ass.
Well, they put me in Skid Row, but the way that Fox did it was, let's stick him in Skid Row, and then watch him have the worst time of his fucking life, right?
Right.
ABC is owned by Disney. You know, they said, let's put him in Skid Row, but let's show how he's making, lemons
difference
out of
for-
lemonade.
yeah.
Exactly.
And would they have you as a filmmaker or something?
No, I had a cover story. It was actually so funny when they told me my cover story. I'm like, nobody's gonna fucking believe this, but they all believed it, hook, line, and sinker. The cover story was that I owned a business. It was right around. I filmed it in 2010. If you remember, the economy, was in the shitter then. The precipice was that I was basically a business owner in Florida. I was thinking about moving out to California and assessing opportunities to volunteer my time. And so when they tell me that that's my cover story, I'm like,
what?
I'm like, that is so weak.
Yeah.
But I swear to you, everyone believed it. So it was, maybe it's how I delivered it or what have you. But it was an interesting experience. What you don't realize when you're on TV or in these reality shows is that there's literally about 30 to 50 people directly in front of you at all times, 3 different camera sets, and each one's got a sound guy, and that guy's got an assistant, and there's a director, and then if there's anybody on the street, there's a bunch of people who work there that are getting signatures, and then there's security guard. It was like I had no idea what to expect, but I mean, it's, you see me in the show, and I'm by myself for an hour, but I'm really with 50 people.
Right. But outside that little lens
Yeah,
is an army of people.
Yeah, exactly.
And then how long did that take to film?
It was a
of
week.
your
It was
time?
like 6 or 7 days,
Not
and
bad.
I lived in what they call SRO housing, which is single resident housing. It's basically, kind of like Section 8 oriented housing, government subsidized, and then Skid Row is the largest homeless population in the United States. It's like 100,000+ people.
Imagine doing that
And,
now.
yeah, exactly. It's even worse now. I keep in touch with the people that I met in the show, and it was about 13 years ago. So
That's cool.
I keep in touch with them and help in the ways that I can. But yeah,
Did you watch the episode, Tommy?
No, I didn't.
yeah, it's an hour.
No.
It's an hour of his life, man. He's got
When we had Daryl Miklosin, he was an astronaut that was a friend of his dad's. I don't know if you know about the thing. He was the first guy to go up to space.
Yep.
Like that mission, Mercury. And he pinpointed 55 places where shipwrecks were possible, like treasures.
Yeah,
Okay?
from space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He found like 35 of them,
Wow.
36 of
Yeah.
them. And Gordon Cooper was the guy's name. And he had told him a lot of stuff because he worked with NASA and then intelligence and all that other stuff. And they had the digital camera, was already done and ready in the 60s.
Right.
What do you think is already done and ready that could be put out that would blow our minds, that they have stashed, that they have ready to
Right,
go,
that's-
but they're pacing it?
Well, I hate to even make a
Like
joke
Apple,
at it.
I don't know what the
Yeah,
fuck.
yeah.
Apple
There was
needs to
a-
start fucking putting.
I know what you're
finishes.
talking about. And I'm going to bring up a quick anecdote of the Family Guy when there was an episode of the Family Guy when I think Brian breaks into
Family Guy.
Lois's dad's factory. I don't know if you remember this
Yeah,
episode.
no,
And
I
he-
like Family Guy.
And he has a cure for. She like breaks into this secret vault, and it says "cure for cancer," and it's like in this vial.
Uh-huh.
And he's so pissed off that Peter Schmidt has been holding off on this cure for cancer that he confronts him at some point. He goes, "Well, how am I supposed to make money if there's a cure for cancer?" Anyway, but not that I would think that there's a cure. I don't know why that came into my mind. I think that, there's certain stuff that I think exists, like the ability to influence people's minds. Like mind influencing technologies. I'm sure you probably heard about like what happened in Cuba and some of these other places
Yeah.
where people were being bombarded by some kind of ultrasonic sounds or what have you, and what kind of impact that had on them. So I think there's a lot of weaponry that we're probably, that's kind of space age, but actually really does exist, plasma guns or the ability to do all kinds of things. It was interesting. I read an article just last week that said that like facial recognition technology, as an example, was actually has been held back. And has been held back by Facebook and Google and a few other companies who went out and acquired all the leaders in the space, but have literally held back the ability to apply it in more and more ways in our everyday lives, kind of because it's such a sensitive area with respect to surveillance and tracking people and stuff. So I know we rag a lot on these companies because of all that they do for us, but in one weird way they've actually, whether it's self-serving or not, I don't know, but in one weird way they've actually stymied the advent of facial recognition technology and how it's implemented in all of our lives.
Yeah, I know YouTube uses it to censor.
Yeah,
They
exactly. Yeah.
because in the code. They maybe 9 months ago I saw it. I'm like, Jesus, not now. They were doing voice obviously and everything else. Now facial, so they know what you're saying no matter what.
Oh yeah,
on YouTube.
Sure.
Spotify doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
YouTube, they got nuts with it.
Yeah.
Pull up the Mexican alien thing. Did you see that? The Indian government.
Yep.
They had come out. I guess they had the aliens or something. Yeah, I'll give you the thing. It's on. It should be on there. And they found so we come out and we have all these UFOs out of nowhere, right? And they're like, what the fuck? What is all this shit?
And wasn't there some announcement that the government was going to make?
Yeah.
They basically came out and said nothing, right?
They basically came out and said nothing as usual.
Yeah.
So they come out, and what the U.S. does is they have a hearing, and they have the whistleblowers, and they make a thing where anybody that saw any unidentifiable object, pass it on to the government.
Yeah.
So now they come out right after us, and they say, well, the U.S. has these things going on. Well, we have this.
Looks like ET.
Now, do you think this shit's real?
I think I would be short-sighted of me to assume that we're alone in this universe. So, do I...
But I mean this actual thing.
I mean, I got to be honest with you. I could hop on DALL-E from OpenAI and create this image in 15 seconds. So do I think it's real? I don't know, But do I believe in extraterrestrial... potentiality, yeah, I do. I think it's foolish for us to. I think it's self-centered of us, quite frankly, to think
that'd be insane.
It's classic human being behavior. We're the only ones who matter. We're the only ones. You know what I mean? But
scroll down because they did a lab test. What do you think about this, Jay?
Two mummies, elongated fingers. I mean, who knows? Are we alone in the world? Urologists.
It should say somewhere.
There's no way we're alone.
But I understand that. But do you think
the investigation found that the figures were recently made?
There you go.
Well, there's the answer.
There you go. See, it's always in the fine print. Yeah, it's a lot of clickbait, right? Scientists.
Until you get to it. Yeah, is this a real alien?
Controversial mummies undergo lab tests, and then 100 pages down. So it was just made recently in a Chinese lab. Carbon dating shows.
Again, think about this. We're here for a pubic hair of the timeline.
Wow. That's how I like to refer to it.
It's a pubic hair. We have no basis of anything, because anything you could remember from history books or anything you've ever heard is such a minuscule piece of the entire pie. It's almost irrelevant.
I always say to myself, if you can bend time and move 15 million light years, what are you going to crash when you get here? So you've advanced enough where you can bend time or control it where you can get here. And then you're going to crash here and nobody has a piece. Nobody has anything.
Yeah.
So do I think, me personally, I think they obviously exist. But if I'm an alien or not from here, I would think technology where you wouldn't even know. I could be just sitting with you amongst us. I'm not going to come here in a fucking spaceship and crash. I wouldn't think. I mean,
there's a myriad of ways, right?
Well,
remember that
show
E back, or was it E or no, V? Remember that back when we were kids? I know you're younger than us, but there's a whole series called V. That, it's like they came.
Like your guy talked about, maybe there's people that are not on the same level of what we can perceive. So maybe these people are here, but based on what our body can see, we cannot see them. You have no idea.
Yeah, I'm going to put the full tin hat on. I'm going to put the full tin hat on.
You just have to figure out how to live with all this stuff.
Did Hoffman say that he thinks that they're among us? Yeah,
yes, he did.
I'm with Hoffman.
I watched that for 3 hours. I listened to it. He says they're here, but we are on a different parallel where we don't realize they're here.
Do you know who Donald Hoffman is?
I don't, but I would say that like the latest footage I've seen, it was like as time goes on, there's three things are happening. One is more and more people are capturing stuff because everybody's got a camera phone and it's a lot easier. Right. Two, the footage seems increasingly more realistic, as well as the veracity of the reports, right? It's like, oh, it's an Air Force guy and, an F-16
and the shittiest
3 Boeing airline pilots who are all collaborating and saying they saw something go from here to here and it's on video, But then the third thing, which is the worst, is that it's also increasingly easy to manufacture this kind of stuff, right? So, I don't know. But like I said earlier, I tend to just believe that be naive to think that we're alone on this planet.
Yeah, I was just curious your opinion. With this whole thing, it just seems odd that all of a sudden, but there's all this controversy in the government and everything else. So what better way to deflect?
But the government said like 3 months ago that they were going to issue some big report, didn't it?
Right. So they did. So they had come up and a whistleblower from that agency, whatever it is, he can only say so much.
Right.
And he said that they have bodies, they have crap,
Right.
they have this and that. And then, so they had the whistleblowers, they had the hearing, it was admitted, there's a line that anybody sees anything, you do it here, and they investigate it, but still, no physical piece, no anything.
Nothing shown.
Nothing shown.
Yeah, I got you.
I have a theory on this.
Let's hear it.
Post-COVID. My theory on this is it's not good for society, but I'm going to tell you what it is. What happened? It's
We're
about
fucked?
It's
How about that one?
Of course. What COVID was about was control.
Yeah.
It was I would say it was a litmus test on how much the government could pull off on control.
Okay, well, hold on. So
That's my opinion on COVID.
the guy Peter McCullough,
I don't know about anybody
and
you're
the
talking
other
about.
doctors, they had started, and we pulled up the documents, and he had everything. They started working on this in 18 in the U.S.
I don't know anything about what you're talking about.
Well, okay, the COVID, and then they were going to use 5G because in the correspondence it would say this is a step.
This is irrelevant to my theory.
Well,
'cause I don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to give you a fresh theory.
Go ahead. Let's discredit the fucking guy that knows, but okay.
He's going to give you a theory.
First test on the control. So this is out there, but I'm going to put it out on public media.
Dude, I'm not driving home with you.
The government had a dry run on control success for the government. Yes? Do we all agree on that?
Yeah.
Can't go out, can't open your business, can't do this, can't do that, can't move, can't live, can't travel, can't fly, can't think. Okay. So, dry run. Next round, the ultimate control. What I feel is going to happen is some sort of third party, I'm not going to, alien, whatever you want to call it, interface similar to a Independence Day scenario coming into here and not leaving the government for full control. I think they may monetize on that, and I think they may know about that, whether it's real or not, or whatever the threat is. I think that could be the ultimate end-all to everything. That's just my theory.
Okay. Billy Carson, who we had in, he's, with all this stuff, stone tablets and everything, that's what he thought.
What did he say?
He thought that they were introducing.
I don't know who he is.
Yeah, he's very, like, if you want to know about all this stone tablets and shit and craziness, anyway, what he says is that the government's implementing this alien stuff.
Yeah,
here they are now. They make you afraid of them.
And they discount it sometimes as goof.
Right. But eventually they make that the thing that scares the fuck out of everybody. And now, hey, we have to control you with this so-called alien thing.
You have to go buy this laser gun now.
That's the end all. No, the end all. That's it.
That's the end all.
That's
That's what he said.
And, again, just a theory. I hope it doesn't happen in my or my children's lifetime, but it seems like it's building to an end all.
Well, your theory was agreed upon by a guy who's been researching this shit for 45 years.
I don't read or research shit.
Okay, well, I'm just telling you that someone who does goes along with your idea.
For real?
Yeah, no,
I think there's a guy named Nostradamus.
I'll send you the video. I'll send you the podcast.
Billy Carson.
One last thing I'd like to get a question on. I know it's your birthday. I don't want to hold you up too much. And hopefully you guys come back in again and have some more fun. What about the weather? Do you think they're controlling the weather?
This. Go ahead.
Well, when you say they, what do you mean by that?
Okay, I
Deep
should say.
state,
Fuck.
the U.S.
Yeah,
government.
where do you go? The five? Do we go BlackRock?
Yeah.
Which way do we go?
I agree.
Do you think in some way, shape, or form it's being controlled? Like, for instance, Hawaii or...
You mean the fires?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
No.
I think we can control weather. That's proven. You know that.
Yeah, with lasers.
Seeding,
Well,
cloud seeding technology. Contrails,
we can cause
incredibly
rain
proven.
and stuff like that. But and then I thought where I thought you might have been heading to is that I 100% think we're contributing to global warming, and that causes weather-related events, right? More hurricanes, more severe hurricanes appearing where they don't, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't think that like as in the accusations we mentioned earlier, where maybe the Russians or Cubans or we don't even know who, right, who were doing that sonic shit, that was like fucking with people's brains. Like, I don't think there's that same kind of weather. I don't know, but if there was, like, why wouldn't it also be used for good? Like, how do you think it's being used for bad, to create catastrophes?
Well, yeah.
Like, why wouldn't they use the same technology to solve drought?
Right. So I think that in my opinion, I think they use it for that, to solve things, drought, when they want to. You know, when it's convenient or there's money to be made.
Who's they?
Like the government, the deep state, whatever, Clinton, Obama, whichever one you want to pick. Whoever has planes,
it's bigger than that.
That makes people.
Yeah,
I know. I know the 5 that are behind them, but they're the front. They're the faces, you know. So I think that they do it because they want to push the whole global warming craziness with like John Kerry and did you fly in here in a jet? No.
I'll say one thing.
So your flight didn't just land here on a private jet.
I'll say one thing. We had a football game on Saturday down in Weston, and they played on a turf field, right? It was my
hot as shit.
My thing read 98, the humidity index or whatever it was said 102. The field, the turf, when I tell you, it felt like 130 degrees, right? Yeah. So, you know, you look at global warming and people, that's a, you know, hot button issue, everybody likes to go. You know, I look at it in the sense that, you know, everybody goes, oh, the cars, the pollution. Okay, I'm sure that has an effect with it. It's the tearing down of all the trees, and now you leave open a black parking lot with black asphalt with turf that just rises.
But Rob, you gotta. It's all about the motives on who's doing what. Motives are behind everything.
Right.
So obviously, you would think in a perfect world, nobody has bad motives.
Right.
But there are motives behind
everything
we do in life.
Right.
Motives. Somebody's got an edge on it.
And that's where I think they're taking. That's where I think they are messing with the weather, because, you know, 9/11 happens. Biden's somewhere talking about, you know, global warming and everything that they're making so much fucking money off of. It's unbelievable. Of course we contribute to it, right? Mm-hmm. But you do the research. This has happened over and over and over, but we're contributing to it a hell of a lot. You know, so I think they're controlling it to an extent to push that. I think. I mean, I don't know. I have an open mind. You know, I don't know, but
like, give me an example where you think that the weather was.
So
you think the fires in Maui, didn't they have it on video as a transformer blew up? I mean, I don't know what else.
I didn't see it.
They had the spark. If you bring it up, you see it. But I mean, you know, that shit happens. It's a natural. You know, it's called force majeure, right?
There's never been a fire like that in Hawaii.
You want to know what's crazy? Had to do with what would it have to do with? Because they built a whole bunch of shit where, you know what I mean? It was like,
yeah, but Hawaii has live fucking volcanoes. The hottest shit.
Yeah, remember
in the
a couple
world.
years ago?
Remember in the fucking world. This is
don't you remember? There's
there's not hotter shit. You can't get hotter shit than Hawaii. This is the hottest shit. It's called AA. It's magma. It's the hot. Look it up, Rob. AA. Yeah. It's the hottest shit in the world. Rob, give me a definition for AA right now. It's the hottest shit in the world.
Yeah.
AA. What AA?
American Airlines.
No, AA definition, Rob. AA definition.
Yeah, basic llama. It's hilarious, man.
It's the basaltic llama. This is the truth, Rob. It's the AA, the AA. It's called in Hawaiian. It's called the AA. Wow. It's the hottest element in the world.
Or Alcoholics Anonymous. That's
how do I mic drop this right now? I'll listen. 5 bottles of tequila. I will spew facts. I do
think weather could be used for weaponization. If that's what you're alluding to ultimately, but I don't believe that's been done yet.
Maybe not. I don't know. I just keep seeing them push it, and it just seems like once in a while, it could be coincidence, like you said. Who the hell knows?
By the way, global warming, I mean, it could be this cyclical thing where in 200 years from now, all of a sudden the Earth cool. You know what I mean? Like, we're just living in it, and we're like, oh my God, the Earth's getting warmer and warmer. But it could just be this thing that we don't know because we're so stuck in the moment.
You just got, in every situation, you got to look at this: who wins and who loses. Yeah. And what's if you think there's a point to somebody positioning themselves to do that. Global, who loses in global? The poor lose. The poor that get flooded out of their rental homes. Yeah, exactly. The poor that lose their $500 cars. The poor. The rich have insurance. Right. So it's a bigger picture than just.
Right.
And that's a 2-tier. That's a whole nother. That's next month. Next month we come in, we roll 2-tier, but that's a whole nother system that I'm all into.
Well, you beat
I'm not
them
happy about it, but I'm all into it.
Well, like you said, if you beat down that tier now, you have that easy control, right? So now they're under
That's
control.
what I believe.
Then what happens? You move to the middle class.
Listen, go back to the times of serfs and Roman Empire classes. This is not nothing new. This is old school history. This is what worked then, and it's what should work now. That's what I'm saying. I don't approve of it, but that's, I think, where the life is going, in a 2-tier, completely shit show.
And you don't have to worry about any of this because you just go to the blacktieclub.com and then you find yourself a
there
match
you go.
and you're not worried about it.
You couldn't have said that better than myself.
Blacktie.com. You drink your $500 bottle of tequila on a fucking Thursday, and at the end of the day, you don't even remember the trailer park you grew up in. Who gives a flying fuck at that point, right? Fuck it.
Lastly, what happens with AI?
Here we go.
Destroy us?
I got another one. After him, I got one little AI.
I think that's it is the single largest transformative invention of our modern life science. Greater than the internet, greater than the cell phone. It is going to radically change.
Destroy us, or
I think.
What's your hedge bet?
Destroy jobs.
I think. Well, it's interesting. He said destroy jobs because actually, one of the strongest categories of job growth right now is AI.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I think
eliminating jobs.
And every industry I've ever seen, there's always bad actors, and I'm sure there will be in AI. I don't think it's these apocalyptic prophecies of the world ending. That's a little extreme in my opinion. Maybe I'm naive, but I see a lot of good things potentially happening out of it, so I'm much more optimistic about the real, the benefit of it. Like as I mentioned earlier, these glasses have AI
those are cool.
built in, and I can now have the world's information, and you don't even know I'm asking it. You know what I mean? It's like, where else did you have that? Now I have the brain accessible, of a million brains. Right?
That's crazy.
Matrix shit.
Exactly.
All right, birthday boy, take us out.
Birthday boy.
Yes.
Listen, 50 years retrospective, my one bit of advice to everybody that's listening, just go out there and do the right thing and live your life, because only people will remember you by what you did. They're not going to remember how many hours you worked. They're not going to remember what's the amount in your bank account. They're going to remember situational times that you had and how you impacted people in life situations. Some of the best times of my life have been with this guy, from Bahamas to crazy parties to whatever. Yes, he has what he has, I have what I have, but that's what life is about. The stories you pass on to future generations, because no one gives a shit about what you die with as far as money. No one gives a shit how many cars you have. Just go out there. You got to be responsible. You got to work, but enjoy your life responsibly.
And I will say
mic drop.
That both of you have given me and Rob nothing but love. Yeah. And, I didn't even, and I was talking to you about some personal stuff, and you were such a down-to-earth, kind guy. I mean, and Jay, the kindness of you introducing us to John, and John being so kind. And,
my boy.
I was like, fuck, shouldn't have texted that to him. And it was just really meant a lot to me.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks.
And thank you, Jay. Yeah. Thanks for everything.
And I appreciate you plugging a bit. It wasn't even.
No, we weren't about plugging shit. Nobody even knows what I do.
We just have fun.
This is for fucking friends. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
This is about life. It's for fucking friends.
We'll go e-foil soon.
That'd be awesome, man. Thank you guys so much, man. Thanks. This podcast is brought to you by Monster Energy. Tear into a can of the meanest energy drink on the planet, Monster Energy. It's the ideal combo of the right ingredients in the right proportion to deliver a big bad buzz that only Monster can. Monster packs a powerful punch, has a smooth, easy drinking flavor. Athletes, musicians, co-eds, road warriors, metalheads, geeks, hipsters, and bikers dig it. You will too. Monster Energy is more than just the green OG. Monster has Monster Ultra, Juice Monster, Monster Hydro, Rehab Monster, Dragon Tea, Monster Max, Muscle Monster, and many more. Buy on Amazon, buy on Walmart, or go to monsterenergy.com, and believe me, you'll find a place. Unleash the beast. Monster Energy. This episode is sponsored by Aurora. Do you know what the fastest growing crime in America is? For years, this crime rate has been surging and affecting millions of Americans. I'm talking about identity theft, and there's a new victim every 14 seconds. Yet despite this, those who have had their identity stolen are often shocked when it happens. That's why I'm excited to partner with Aurora, who is sponsoring this video. Aurora is identity theft protection, fraud monitoring, a VPN, password management, and antivirus software all into one easy-to-use app. Their VPN allows you to stay anonymous online by keeping your browsing history and personal information safe and encrypted. Protect you and your family from America's fastest-growing crime. Try Aurora for free for 2 weeks and see if you or anyone in your family's personal information has been compromised. Start your free trial today. Go to aurora.com/MSCS. The link is in the description below.